We'll call the meeting to order. The regular meeting of the Santa Barbara Unified School District Board of Education on April 14th is now called to order at 4:46. Are there any public comments? No. Having none, we will adjourn to closed session. All right, the board is returning from closed session. Apologies for the delay here. We had some traffic issues at the beginning and a busy agenda. And we'll also let you know at this point that at the end of the meeting, the board will be reconvening to closed session. We will be accepting further public comment cards for non-agenda items for the next 5 minutes. And that will move us to item on language access.
Good evening, everyone. This is an announcement that this meeting will have interpretation over Zoom into Spanish and also sign language interpretation. Buenas noches a todos. Les queremos comunicar que esta reunión contará con interpretación al español, tanto en Zoom como lenguaje de señas estadounidense. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight in closed session, the board voted 5-0 to approve the appointment of Alex Sheldon as Director of Human Resources. And that will move us to the student board report. Student board member Carlos Taft Vasquez.
Thank you. I have a few updates. Our last board meeting in March. Spring break. Our students enjoyed a well-deserved week off for spring break from the end of March to the beginning of April. I also went on my first of many AVID visits. Last week, I had the pleasure of speaking with the Santa Barbara High School senior AVID class alongside Dr. Maldonado. Students spoke highly of the program's ability to prepare them for college over the years. Many of them have been part of that specific AVID class and been around those students since 7th grade and are now preparing to attend a wider range of very impressive colleges. Achievements that they largely attribute to the consistent support and structure that AVID provides. Students did raise some concerns about lack of funding and expressed how much of their time in and outside of class they spent organizing and facilitating fundraisers to pay for activities such as college visits. They also mentioned that a push for elementary staff to advertise and support students looking to become part of the next part of an AVID class would be beneficial. I'm really looking forward to visiting additional high school AVID classes as well as the junior high programs in the coming weeks. This week also marks the start of state testing for our juniors. While the added 2-hour testing block does introduce some stress, efforts by administrators and student government, such as school activities and gift card incentives, are helping to ease the pressure and maintain a positive environment on campus. Lastly, the Student Advisory Council will meet tomorrow. We look forward to providing input to Dr. Wilson on the instructional continuity plan, as well as having a discussion with our high school principals about some of our district's programs and academies. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That will bring us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Maldonado?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you, Carlos. He's like upping the report level. I have to tell everybody that's here today and whoever's watching us, it's been such a joy to learn from Carlos. And as someone who's coming with wanting to honor student voice, he's taking it to the next level. So I appreciate your leadership. Just remember, when he becomes a world leader, we knew him when. That's my vote. With that said, speaking of great leaders, I do want to start this meeting by taking a moment to honor the memory of David Ortiz, the longtime principal of La Colina, who recently passed away. David wasn't just an administrator. He was the heart of the La Colina community for 22 years and in Santa Barbara Unified for 31 years. He led with a rare blend of kindness, integrity, and a deep-seated belief in every student who walked his halls. His impact in our district is immeasurable, and his legacy lives on in the thousands of lives he touched. Our thoughts are with his family and the entire La Colina community during this difficult time. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor Mr. David Ortiz. Thank you. On behalf of the school district, I would like to express my deepest condolences to all of you, those of you who knew him, as well as to his family and the La Colina staff. On a personal note, the only very few times that I met him and the times that I had a chance to speak to him, I can attest to all the things that we're saying about him, and his services will be held this Friday. As Carlos reported, as we kick off our state testing window, I want to recognize the hard work of our students and staff. These assessments are a vital check-in that helps us measure academic growth and refine our support for every classroom. Our priority is creating a low-stress environment, as Carlos said, which is not exactly happening, but where our students can simply focus on doing their best. I'm grateful to our educators for their preparation and to our families for their continued encouragement at home. We look forward to seeing our students shine. I do want to make sure everybody knows we test with the CASP testing or the state testing in grades 3 through 6, 7th and 8th. And for high schools, we only do one grade, which is 11th grade. So thank you for everyone involved in the state's testing. This Thursday, April 16th, we launch our district-wide Armory Listening Tour at La Colina Junior High from 6 to 7:30. We are seeking community input on how to transform the 4.7-acre site into career tech education classrooms for students, potential workforce housing for our staff, and more. The other dates are here on your screen. Please join us in person or take our community survey at sbunified.org. Your feedback will directly shape the architectural and programmatic designs that will be presented to this board in the fall. And lastly, as you know, one of my things that I enjoy doing most when I give a superintendent report is to recognize our staff at all levels of the organization. We have our Collaborative Spirit Award from San Marcos High School, the Cognitive Strategies Leadership Team. Please join me in honoring David Young, Dovas Zanius, Frank Koroshek, Amy McMillan, and Lindsay Vining. This group of educators came together drawing on their shared experiences to lead the entire faculty through the implementation of cognitive strategies across all subjects. They have designed and facilitated monthly trainings, modeled engaging lessons, and provided direct support to departments. Their work has not only elevated instruction for all students, but has also created a stronger sense of collegiality and shared purpose among the staff. For this award, I want everyone to know that the Collaborative Spirit Award's purpose is to recognize teamwork and professional learning community work. So if you know of a team that's doing some great, amazing teamwork that benefits our district, specifically our staff and students, please go ahead and nominate them. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
All right, that will bring us to public comments. Before we begin the public comment portion of tonight's meeting, the board would like to thank everyone who's joined us to share their perspectives. Your voice is a vital part of our district's governance. Under the provisions of the California Brown Act, the board is legally prohibited from engaging in back and forth dialogue or taking immediate action on items not specifically listed on tonight's agenda. Because of this, we will not be responding directly to your comments this evening. However, please note that silence does not mean indifference. We value your input and take your concerns seriously. Following this meeting, the board will work closely with the superintendent and district staff to ensure all comments are reviewed and that appropriate follow-up or research is conducted. We ask that you please adhere to our time limit so that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. Thank you for your partnership in supporting our students. Considering the number of non-agenda comments tonight, we will limit individual comment time to 2 minutes. At the end of a 20-minute period, I will ask the board if they would like to extend the time. To assist in time management, we're also requesting that the next 2 speakers be in the room and come to the podium promptly when being called. Vice President Munoz, will you please call the first 3 speakers?
Okay, thank you, President Banning. The first 3 speakers are Ken Rivas, Diana Utera, okay, and Mario Guerrero.
There we go. Good evening, school board members, superintendent Hilda Maldonado, and cabinet members. Okay, so I'm usually here to support a resolution, action item, or some other matter. But tonight I'm here at the request of 2 paraeducators I have with me on my right, and they have requested that I be here in support of their request that they will ask the school board. They will coming up shortly, and due to a decision that I believe was made from our HR personnel for classified employees and the manager from the special education department. I won't mention any names, but just put some context to this. So, and then you can expect a written letter following this meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivas. Diana, I'm sorry, okay. And then Mario Guerrero, followed by Elaine Rice.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Sorry. Good evening, everybody. I'm here today to address, I received a second involuntary notice today, as I received my first one was on March 17, and it got resigned, and I got the notice from Ken. I never received any notice from HR or anybody else. I believe these 2 involuntary transfers are kind of retaliation towards. I have spoken out about 2 different issues that I have going on at school, and this transfer significantly impacts my family, as I have my 2 daughters that are here today with me. They attend to the same school. My youngest one has some special needs and medical needs that I feel more comfortable being in the same school as her, as she could contact me right away and be something hurts or whatnot. And that's mainly my goal, to not be transferred and stay in the same school as my daughters. And just my request is for you guys to revise and reconsider this involuntary transfer for my involuntary transfer. That's all. Thank you, everybody, for your attention.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mario Guerrero, followed by Elaine Rice, and then Zachary Ortiz.
Hello, good evening, members of the board. I understand I work for the school district, but I am here representing the students at Harding. My name is Mario Guerrero. I am a paraeducator at Harding. I'm here to appeal my involuntary transfer to Washington. This is the 2nd time this year I have been asked to move. My first transfer was already appealed and canceled because it was found that there was no educational reason to move me. Nothing has changed since that decision was made. As a paraeducator, my value is in the relationships I have built. I have built at Harding, and I know my students' needs. I know their families, and I know how to help them succeed. Moving me would disrupts the classroom's routine for students who rely on my consistency. And also, it forces me to start over at a school where the district previously admitted I am not required. And also, it hurts the team at Harding, where I have proven and have been an effective partner to my teachers. I am asking the board to uphold the previous decision and cancel this transfer. My students at Harding are my priority, and I want to stay where I'm already making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
And is Zachary Ortiz? Oh, okay, thank you. And followed by, oh, I'm sorry. I'm the one, okay, I'm so sorry about that. Elaine Rice. Embarrassing.
Hello, members of the school board and the cabinet. I'm here today because of a grave injustice that is happening with the recent reduction in force notices. All the current employees in the main office of the Student and Family Services Department were given reduction in force notices by you all. And this isn't a fair thing for you to be doing to us. I started with SBUSD as a temporary employee at McKinley Elementary in August of 2021. I moved to Student Services, the former name of Student and Family Services, in October of 2021. And I became a regular employee in April of 2022. So I've been doing the district records technician position for the last 4 years. We were told at the beginning of March that we'd be receiving these notices by the March 15th deadline. The reason given for the notices is that they were to be restructured to 3 positions. Right now, the admin secretary 4 is at level 50A, and the new positions would be at level 50. I'm all for the increase to the level 50 for the department. However, there are 4 positions being riffed with the reason of lack of work or lack of funds. Neither condition is true. For my position, I have been increasingly busy. I have a log that I have kept since July of 2022, and I have, on average, received and processed over 400 records requests every school year until this year. I reached 400 in February. The new job description would be for only 3 people. As 3 people to do the work of 4 people. As classified staff, we are an integral part of the operations of the district, especially at the district office. If we could do the work as 3 people, it would have been consolidated long before this. As the secretary of CSEA, I know that the process to change, update, or rewrite a classified job description must go through a rigorous process, including being ratified by the school board, the CSEA union, and the Santa Barbara Chapter 37 membership. None of these conditions have been met. Like I said, there's no lack of work. All 4 of us are busy, and the assistant superintendent is leaving at the end of this school year. And I'm sorry. And it doesn't seem right that she should be able to riff us and then leave and not have anybody to restructure for us.
Thank you.
Okay, so Zachary Ortiz, followed by Joel Block and Carolina Bate.
Hello, school board, Superintendent Maldonado. We have been working very well with the district, or at least trying to work well with the district, being collaborative at every step of the approach. And when I first got here, things were going pretty smooth. But what I've learned is as soon as you disagree with this district, you will not get what you want. You'll be hit with letter after letter and response about technicalities of why we do not have to negotiate with you. These layoffs are just the tip of the iceberg of the issues and the immoral behavior in which this administration that you oversee has behaved with. Whether it's the layoffs, to lay off an entire department just to pull the rug up from underneath them and replace them with higher level positions that have little qualification differences, to the retaliatory layoff in an office coordinator position in the after-school program, to refusing to negotiate with us over safety concerns regarding a firearm at Santa Barbara High School, to refusing to negotiate with us over after-school program employees that do not have union representation because the district refuses to negotiate with us. This is a pattern of immoral behavior, and I beg you to please look into what's going on, because this district administration is refusing to treat us with the respect and dignity that we deserve as a classified unit of this of this school district. We have worked well. We are not jumping at the seams to complain at every step of the way. We are here now because the boiling point is here. We ask you, we beg you to please sit down, meet with us. We've sent an email to meet with us individually, and I hope you take those invitations seriously. There is a serious problem, and again, I say it's immoral behavior. You can use whatever legal argument you want to try to justify your moral behavior, as we see with this presidential administration. It's the same exact process that this HR and legal team is operating with. And I beg you, do the right thing. Our classified employees are struggling.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next, after Mr. Block, we're going to have Carolyn Abate, Rich Lashwa, and John Dant. That's okay, thank you.
Good evening. What I've given you is a chart related to negotiations about salary and actual numbers, not just how they come out, but how they actually affect each of us. So what you have here are the first-year teachers and 23-year teachers. And what you have is how inflation and the offerings of the district affect each of those. So based on the inflation, it means that actually in the third column, what you have is how much less inflation has caused us to be actually earning for the year of 2025. And then what the salaries would be based on inflation. And then what the salary would be if you take the proposed increase of $3,000 from the Santa Barbara Teachers Association, what the rate increase would be, which is very modest. Then what it would be with the really insulting offer of the district of $1,000 per person, where everybody makes less money no matter what. And then on the old inflation rate at the time, and the current inflation rate, which is where it says 3.3%, that was as of today. That's how much less each teacher would make in that category, which tells you every category in between would lose money, and that every salary for every teacher would be less than what they make now. From the district proposal, anywhere from 1 to 2.5%. And I urge you not to let that happen. I mean, we can talk about how we thought, work with each other in a proper way, but all this is telling us is we're not worth much to the board or to the district, and I urge the board to direct negotiators to make a reasonable offer. $1,000 a year is embarrassing and frankly insulting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have, Carolyn Abate, Rich Lashwa, and am I missing, is he here? Are you here? Are you here? Okay. And then John Dant. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Public comment is essential for freedom of speech and to question the status quo and for the public to hear new ideas. There are critical issues with curriculum and the use of technology in our schools that must be carefully analyzed because there are different, better paths forward that use common sense and right reason. For example, do our schools teach biblically based morality? Do they cultivate important virtues in our students? Why is this necessary? Because we all, regardless of politics, value our freedom, and freedom cannot exist without morality.
Freedom of speech cannot exist without the virtue of people respecting other people's right to disagree. Everyone in our country, and especially young people, must have sufficient moral and virtuous character, or we will be unable to govern ourselves and will require a police state to prevent chaos and disorder. And the result will be that everyone loses their freedom. Therefore, it is essential for our students to be taught the difference between right and wrong, so they will choose the correct and wise use of their free will. It takes time to explain these ideas and reasons so people can hear them and give them some thought. Please extend public comment time to at least 30 minutes and allow flexibility to increase the total amount of time for public comment so speakers have truly up to 3 minutes to speak, which they haven't had for the entire month of January, February, March. It's always been limited to 2 minutes or less. So thank you for your time, and thank you for being willing to listen.
Thank you.
Okay, so after Rich Lashua and John Dant will be William Rodriguez.
Thank you to those who came out to see Santa Barbara Junior High's spring musical. The arts help our neediest kids to cope. For example, one of our soloists is being raised by her uncle. He's a great teacher, but he was not elected by this board. Instead of receiving a RIF, this district's judgment will dog him in every teaching interview. He's gone from job insecure to vocation insecure in a matter of days. With Mr. DuPont's resignation, Santa Barbara Junior High will have its fourth principal in 6 years. During his entire time at our campus, he never had the same admin staff 2 years in a row due to constant churning of assistant principals and deans. Ever see a business struggle to keep staff? Only the loyalists stay, and a leadership that doesn't foster thriving employees will collapse quickly. If the place is lucky enough to survive, it can take years to shake the bad reputation. I mention this because I'm tired of working for a district that kicks us while we're down. The non-reelection of Arthur Gladwell and the resignation of Dan DuPont, while frustrating, are also indicators of larger problems faced throughout our district. The only place it's safe to be an okay teacher is if you're in a school where most students enter at the top of their class. Everyone else must be flawless. Yet, I've campaigned for equitable access in our junior highs for 3 years. And this board decided another year for the needs of the schools born on third base was what was needed. I was the only teacher in our district honored at a county-wide awards ceremony. Despite news articles and accolades from state representatives and Goleta's mayor, it didn't merit an Instagram post from Santa Barbara Unified. This isn't about me. If my ego was fragile, I probably should not be teaching junior high. But if I and my kids are asked to play ball against other kids who are already born on third base, it would be great to have a bat that I could give my students before they stepped in the box. Let's go change the world.
Thank you.
Okay, after these speakers, the following two will be Clover Gilmain. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, and Rocio Bejar.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Maldonado, and staff. Thank you for your time and the work you do for our students and community. I keep coming back and sharing information because I care deeply about this work, and the Armory CTE Center is not good for our community. I spent over 20 years building CTE programs, not just my own. In fact, today, I helped a teacher in Northern California to set up a new pathway at his district. I wrote my master's project on the value of CTE for the future of education, and I dedicated my life to this work. I was a part of the conversations when the Armory project was acquired in 2016. At that time, I was excited about the idea of a CTE center, but the context today is completely different. In 2016, about 15 pathways shared a roughly $110,000 Perkins grant annually, and we lack facilities. In the last 8 years, we've invested over $20 million into CTE facilities on our campuses, with another $11 million planned at San Marcos. And importantly, all 3 high schools have built strong, sustainable CTE pathways that serve thousands of students every year. We're not lacking programs, we're not lacking facilities, but we are facing a different reality. Enrollment's declining. We're always trying to find ways to cut. We're planning for 13 fewer teachers, closing 10 elementary classrooms, cutting 60 high school course sections. And at the same time, you're considering spending a $30 million investment in a new facility that will have an annual operating budget of millions of dollars. So I think we need to go back to what the community voted for. The measure says to repair and upgrade junior and high schools and prepare students for college and careers by repairing classrooms, vocational facilities, plumbing, HVAC, technology, etc. That language is broad, does not require a centralized CTE facility. We also need to recognize what's happening in education right now. AI is rapidly changing the workforce, and we're entering a period of real uncertainty. The biggest challenge in CTE aren't buildings, they're people. Recruiting and retaining teachers, sustaining programs, and adapting to change. And right now, our biggest issue is that young teachers cannot afford to live here. You have a choice to invest in our current schools, support our teachers, and strengthen what already works. Because once this money is spent, we don't get it back. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Board members, we've reached our 20-minute mark. How many have not spoken?
We have a total of 5. We have one, including a virtual comment.
Would the board like to extend to hear those 5?
I would like
Okay,
to. Yes.
thank you. We'll continue.
Okay, so, yes, William Rodriguez, Clover.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Will Rodriguez. I'm a sophomore at Santa Barbara High School, and I'm speaking on behalf of the nonprofit organization AHA. As a student, I've learned the importance of getting an education and doing well in school, whether it's on tests or assignments. But school can be challenging both academically and emotionally. If a student is dealing with some form of stress, whether at home or someplace else, it can be really hard to be a student without support. Being part of AHA has given me a space where I can connect with like-minded individuals and the opposite. But most importantly, it's allowed me to be open and feel heard. I've learned how to better understand who I am, manage how I process things, and be a support for those around me. I know for a fact not every student has that support. And that's why social emotional learning is so crucial to creating spaces for students to feel heard and seen. For me, programs like AHA aren't just helpful, but empowering and make a real difference. They haven't just helped me grow emotionally and feel more confident in who I'm growing to be, but I've seen this firsthand within my own friends. Through their involvement in AHA programs this past semester, which I urged them to join, I've felt our relationships grow stronger and more interpersonal through a shared experience, which is AHA. I'm asking you to continue supporting and prioritizing social emotional learning in our schools so every student has the chance to feel seen and supported. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Clover, tell me how to pronounce your last name, please.
Gilamani.
Gilamani, okay. And then Rocio Bejar and Peggy Ochoa.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Clover Gilamani. I'm a junior at Santa Barbara High School, and I would like to speak to you all about the organization AHA and why it is important in the schools right now. AHA is a nonprofit organization that focuses on teaching teens social-emotional learning, which provides students with the skills to manage their emotions, build positive relationships, and make thoughtful decisions. AHA teaches students empathy and effective communication, which is crucial because when students learn to collaborate and respect one another, they not only enhance their social skills but also reduce bullying and conflict. By prioritizing emotional wellness, AHA can help reduce anxiety and depression, therefore creating a safe space for students to express themselves. For me, AHA has always been a place where I've been able to work through my problems, be present, form new connections with amazing people, and practice beneficial skills such as mindfulness and gratefulness. I feel that I've improved immensely as a person since I've joined AHA, and that everyone can benefit from being a part of it. Overall, the skills learned in AHA prepare teens for success, not just in school, but in life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Rocio Bejar Montor. I'm a senior at Santa Barbara High School. Throughout my years of high school, I've been in various college readiness programs, focused on different aspects of preparing for college. What helped me be the best version of myself to be fully mentally prepared for college was my training with AHA. I learned to understand my emotions and take the actions needed to take care of myself. It personally helped me to learn how to put up boundaries, and I think that AVID programs in the district could benefit from a partnership with an social emotional teaching program. It would help alleviate stress from academics and help classrooms bond. I want to quickly thank all of you for allowing the implementation of programs on campus like Peace Builders at the junior high and Ally at the high schools. I said no to AHA when I was in junior high, but when I came across it in high school, I couldn't believe it was the same program I said no to. It has truly been life-changing. With that said, AHA would like to invite you all to our Sing It Out event on Sunday, April 19th at 6 p.m. 11 students and 2 staff will take the stage at the Lobero and do the intimidating thing of singing in front of a full audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Peggy Ochoa, followed by a virtual comment from Roseanne Crawford.
Good evening, everybody. Buenas noches, buenas tardes a todos. My name is Peggy Ochoa. I am the only female youth outreach worker for the entire district, and I serve all junior highs and high schools, including adult ed. I have a caseload of students that I meet with weekly, so I have to be at every school site every week. I read somewhere that the 2 top reasons for depression is divorce and getting a layoff, which makes sense, except when you get a layoff, it's your company that's divorcing you. So my heart goes out. I hope you never have to face either of them. If you have, my heart goes out to you because I have faced both. And I'm here in support of the layoffs that have been happening these past 3 years. And you're affecting our classified employees. We have our Student Family Services team that was vibrant in 2021 when the youth outreach program was created. We had 6 youth outreach workers taking on all of these schools, and it came in great because of COVID and all the kids that came back with, you know, everything they had to endure during those years, or that time of COVID. And COVID, people say COVID's not around, but the effects of COVID are still around, especially the emotional effects on these students. The students that I work with are students that, for cultural reasons, probably deny or refuse getting therapy services. So I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I'm more like a mentor, or like students call me tia. I'm like their auntie. But I motivate them to keep going, to keep it up. I have students that are teen parents, and I'm motivating them to keep going to higher education. I have students that are in and out of the system, but the saddest part are the students that tell me that they have a daily plan because of ICE, where they cannot open the door without an adult. They have a plan to get to school and come right back. They can't be out and about. They can't go to the fair. They can't go to the movies because of what's going on. And for that one time a week that they get to meet with me, I bring activities and we make slime and art and we talk about things, and they say, for that little bit of time, I feel normal. And I beg you, instead of dismantling the youth outreach worker program, help bring it back up again. We're losing one of our people. So it's just gonna be 2 of us for the whole school district to work with these. I know it's a small percentage of students that we work with, but it's still a heavy need.
Wrap up the
Thank you.
call. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, I can't see Sandra or Citlali. Do we have the virtual? Oh, okay.
Sorry, I can see Sandra.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Roseanne Crawford.
Good evening, Roseanne Crawford here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I was pleased to see that the district has hosted targeted meetings to discuss the Armory. It is important in long-term planning to honor the Measure I 2016 bond measures goal of preparing students for college and careers. The bond language is very specific. It cannot be used for housing. The first step was accomplished when the National Guard Armory facility was acquired for educational purposes, including career technical education. While a few of our secondary schools have vocational...
I'm sorry, I'm only interrupting because we're trying to hear, we're trying to adjust the sound so we could hear you better.
I see. Should I start again from the beginning? Should I start again
Yeah,
from the beginning?
hold on a second. Sorry.
Thank you.
Can you start again and let's see if it's working?
I would be happy. Thank you, Mr. Banny. I was pleased to see that the
Thank you.
district has posted targeted meetings to discuss the armory. It is important in long-term planning to honor Measure I 2016 bond measure's goal of preparing students for college and careers. The bond language is very specific. It cannot be used for housing. The first step was accomplished when the National Guard Armory facility was acquired for educational purposes, including career technical education. While a few of our secondary schools have vocational programs, the needs of all of the secondary schools and the space needed to be freed up for elective offerings need to be explored. There is a shortage of people entering the trades. For example, construction, plumbers, electricians, mechanics are retiring at a higher rate than people entering them. There is a shift of people away from choosing higher education with AI influencing the workforce. The community meeting of April 25th will be very beneficial. This big picture meeting is necessary to start looking at declining enrollment across all schools and to encourage an efficiency evaluation. Our trajectory is not sustainable. We can't keep borrowing from Peter to play Paul. Our boundaries have not been evaluated for decades. All the schools have been integrated for over 30 years. We could minimize transportation costs if attendant boundaries were adjusted. Ventura and other parts of California are well in the process of shutting down, combining schools, and adjusting boundaries to optimize operations to lower ongoing expenses. There is a lot of work to do within this district. I ask this board to direct Superintendent Maldonado to make the enrollment and boundary numbers available for all schools so that important, long overdue work can begin.
All right.
Lastly, put on the agenda discussion and vote for boundaries to be
Yeah,
reviewed
could you
every
wrap up?
10 years.
Sorry,
Thank
could you
you.
wrap up your comments, please?
Yes, lastly, to put on the agenda discussion and vote for boundaries to be reviewed every 10 years. Thank you, all of you, for all you do.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Okay, and that concludes public comment on this item.
All right, that will lead us to board comments and correspondence. And do we have volunteers? Anyone ready for their comments? Rose? Vice President Munoz.
Thank you, President Banning. Yes, I wanted to, say that this last week I participated in the presentation about the Armory and the invitation to the community to attend the sessions that we're going to have, and also our emphasis on including everyone, the community, the students, parents, family, teachers, staff, and such. And so it was good to be there and do a meet and greet with many of the partners that were there.
If you want to go ahead and have our dinner, I already so thank you.
I'm sorry? What happened? Okay. I also attended Spam-A-Lot, the production at Santa Barbara Junior High with the guidance of Mr. Lashwa. And I was, I think the students are a lot more adaptable than I am being this evening, just with unexpected changes and so forth. I was very impressed by this production. I kept having to remind myself that they were junior high students. because of the caliber of their performances. And I enjoyed it, thoroughly, very inclusive. There was a diverse participation of students in all the different roles. I think that the selection of students for each role was just like spot on, and such. And I know someone else here, Miss Caffrey, might have been there also. We didn't see each other, I guess, and stuff. But the student that played the king was just so amazing, and just everyone. They had a student who was the diva and such, and I mean, as you know, I can go on and on. A lot confidence building. They talked about how it would be to have a production on Broadway, and what their wish for was to be able to do that. And I felt like I was at a production on Broadway, honestly. They came back, they would do the change sets, they would do the different outfits, the roles, just amazing how smoothly it went. We even had oh gosh, what do you call it? Salió el, let me see, I go into my Spanish. Mr. DuPont was there all of a sudden on stage as part of the production. Pardon? Cameo, thank you, my dear. And such, and it was a delight. There was I had like a good seat there in the middle, and then there was a family here with a little girl who was probably like 6 years old, who was just dancing and singing along the whole time. And we were all just, enthralled by it anyhow. Just amazing. So it was a good week overall, just looking at our future and such.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? No? No one? No comments? Okay. I just wanted to say, when I arrived in Santa Barbara in 2012 as the superintendent at Goleta, one of the very first people I met from Santa Barbara Unified was David Ortiz. I met him in his office and got the first tour of a school other than one of Goleta's schools, and we talked about our shared experiences in administration in junior high school, and I was impressed at his longevity even then. And he continued to stay on, and what a great representative for the district, and my condolences to his family. And that will bring us to the report discussion agenda. The first item is an update on the implementation of the master plan for emergent English learners. Dr. Maldonado, will you please introduce our presenters?
Yes, I want to welcome Dr. Deborah Martinez, who's been leading the work on the master plan for emergent multilingual learners, and is giving us an update on some of the indicators of the implementation. I do want to make sure that we do not misrepresent that the update of the implementation of the English Learner Master Plan is everything that's in the plan. It's really more of a student-focused implementation update. There are so many other chapters of our plan that include behind-the-scenes work that's been done with both our ETS, our ARIES, and other systems that we have put in place to make sure that we continue to improve how our system responds to their needs. So welcome, Dr. Martinez.
Good evening, Dr. Maldonado, President Banning, board members, district personnel, and community. It is my honor to share with you an update of the implementation plan of the Emergent Multilingual Learner Master Plan. As Dr. Maldonado mentioned, we are going to zero in on a few items that are high leverage for the progress and improvement of our student outcomes for emergent multilingual learners. I am going to begin with just a brief orientation of our two instructional programs, share with you relevant data, and also share with you practices that we considered high leverage that have really supported our two instructional programs in our systems across the district and across our schools. And then finally, showcase 3 of our schools who have demonstrated high, significant growth in LP scores, which are the most important indicator for our emergent multilingual learners. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Or do I have, oh, sorry. Going the wrong way. Thank you. So as a reminder, we do have, every emergent multilingual learner is in an instructional program. We have our dual immersion program, as we know, which are located in 3 schools, 1 elementary, 1 junior high, and 1 high school. We have then also our structured English immersion, which is the majority of our English learners or emergent multilingual learners. You can see at the corners, I've identified we have 179 EMLs that are in the dual immersion program that includes the small cohorts at the secondary level as well. And we have 28 reclassified students in that program. And when you look at the other side of the Venn diagram, we have most of our emergent multilingual learners in the structured English immersion, 1,471 learners. And then we have the majority of our students that are already reclassified, which is 1,307 students. And the Venn diagram really just illustrates that both programs have to have a very robust, comprehensive ELD program, which includes that designated ELD time that is a protected time that typically is at the language acquisition level of the child in both elementary and secondary. And the integrated ELD piece, which is everybody's responsibility, and that is one of the areas that we will talk a little further on. Those are all strategies to employ within the content area to elevate language considerations and ensure that students have access. And if you can see from the differences, it is evident in the dual immersion program. We are focusing on biliteracy in 2 languages. Definitely, high academic achievement, sociocultural competence, and the ability to read and write and do academic work in both languages. It requires a specialized teacher. The teacher has to have a certification that's called BCLAD. The teacher has to demonstrate the ability to teach in the target language. In this case, it's in Spanish. And in the other side, we have our goal is English acquisition. And even though we may have initial scaffolds in the child's primary language, that is a scaffold, and it is a time where the child is acclimating and not something that is sustained. And all of our teachers have an EL authorization. And in the state of California, you have to have an EL authorization in order to serve in a public system. Here, I want to just center our reclassification trend district-wide. And this is important just to see the trend and note that in between the 2023-24 and 24-25, there is an increase. And you can see out of the, for instance, in the 24-25 school year, out of 378 students, 24% of them reclassified. I know there are questions about how our schools are doing with this particular measure. And what I can definitely share that at a future time. But I also would invite you to consider that the LP measure is a more of an accurate measure. And similarly, how we are going to highlight 3 schools, I do have a report that is a visual that will show you where each school lands when it comes to the dashboard, which is the primary metric that we use to measure success. For EMLs, it predicts their ability to access academics. So as the LP measures improve and grow, it is predicted that they will have better outcomes academically because their English proficiency is developing. So I don't want to miss something, so give me 1 second. So I already shared with you that the LP growth is the strongest indicator of academic performance, and this is a good to know data point, but reclassification rates by themselves is just a piece of information. the LP and couple that with LP results would really give you a better picture. So we can go to the next slide. Oh, I guess I do. So one of the high leverage strategies that we have employed in our schools is child agency. So in order for our students, and this is really a target from 3rd grade to 12th grade, we have developed these systems with the support of our teachers on special assignment, in where schools, teachers, various members in each school have a one-on-one with the child for them to have that awareness of what their language acquisition is, where their scores are, what the trends mean, and that in itself allows them to have agency in their own progress. Coupled with that, teachers also utilize different activities that will expose them to the different ways that LPAC is designed. So the different task types are being presented in various points in the school year, and especially as we get closer to the assessment period. So this is something that even at the junior high and high school, students become much more aware as to their acquisition level as it's reported by the LPAC, and what that means and how that impacts their reading ability, and how that is actually something that they also track, their reading comprehension ability. So this is something that our teachers have done a remarkable job employing, and specifically in the 3rd through 12th grade. Here is a summary of professional learning. If you were to go back to the 2 instructional programs, in order for those to be effective, our teachers are to be supported in how to deconstruct language across content areas. That is not a simple task. When you think of science, or you think of physics and things that are very complex, there are certain teacher moves that will elevate it and predict that the child's going to have higher access. We have 2 types of trainings. Our dual immersion teachers have been immersed in coaching with our specialists from our partner organization. And that it has a different focus, because their focus is really building biliteracy and understanding the transfer between one language and the other. And when there's a specific strategy called bridging, think of it as a meta, like the self-awareness of the 2 languages, and what are some of the things that are appropriate to do that with. Other things are language acquisition in Spanish, language acquisition in English. And when you go to the side of the integrated ELD focus, which really supports both programs, this is where teachers have been trained. In this year, we focused on cohorts. So we have like the history teachers, we have the science teachers, we'll have the English teachers, the ALD teachers, and they receive this intensive training 3 times a year this year, and they basically look at their curriculum and their content through the lens of language. And they spend half the day with different activities within their own peers, and then the rest of the day, they're actually implementing that within the unit or lesson that they're going to prepare the following week. It is not a training where they just kind of receive something and then perhaps implement it later. It's something that's very transferable. So the design of the training is very important. And with that, I think we have a short video to share, and these are just some of the quotes from the teachers. So Julio, whenever you're ready.
We've made integrated ELD a priority because it's central to our new master plan for emergent multilingual learners. It's how we ensure language development happens in every classroom, every day for every EML. Recently, our grades 3 through 12 educators came together for 3 days of focused IELD training. The goal was to build a shared understanding that language isn't taught in isolation. It's developed through content, through thinking, and through meaningful interaction. Teachers engaged in strategies that elevate student voice, including structured academic conversations, discipline-specific language, and intentional vocabulary development, all aligned to both content and language objectives. This work directly supports our master plan by strengthening the instructional programs like Structured English Immersion and our Dual Language Immersion program, ensuring that IELD practices are embedded across all grades and all subject areas.
Go to the next slide. These are just some of the quotes our teachers, we do give them a survey every session, and we take their feedback and tailor that for the following session. But the feedback has been overwhelmingly that they do value the time with their colleagues, specifically as they process what they learn and they're able to transfer that learning directly to the classroom immediately. Now I'm going to transition into sharing and inviting. We have two of our principals here. Mrs. Binkley could not be here. She regrets her ability to be here present, but I'm going to share on her behalf, and then I'll invite Mrs. Curry from Washington Elementary and Dr. Brock from La Cumbre Junior High, who we are very proud of the work that they've done with leading their teacher teams. But I am going to do my best to share with Mrs. Binkley would have wanted to share with you. So I'm going to start by orienting you to the dashboard data that you see in the slide. One of the things that is very notable, if you look at the 2025 bar, which is kind of like the data, one thing to note is the purple, which is the first color, the 61%. That illustrates the students that demonstrate a minimum of 1 LP level, which is what we want. Every year we want the students to grow 1 LP level. You can see in the small image that there are 6 LP levels within the 4 LPAC scores. This is something that I have shared with you in the past. So a minimum of 1 is the goal. Then we have the 31% of students that maintain. They didn't grow, they didn't decrease. So we watch those students, 31%. And then you'll notice 8% of the students decreased 1 level. They went back a level. But if you compare that for her 2024 comparison data, you can see the remarkable change. And every bar is considered 2 years that are compared. So 23-24 is compared and illustrated on the 24 year. 24-25 are compared and illustrated in the 2025 bar. And that because it's more than 10 points growth, that is considered a significant growth, and it is very challenging to get that kind of score, and resulting in the blue color in the dashboard, which is the highest level. Mrs. Binkley attributes a lot of her success with the strong MTSS program that she has at her school. And I have a few things that she would want me to share. As an IB world school, Harding values its students' cultural and linguistic diversity as a strength. The school intentionally builds on students' languages, experiences, and perspectives to enrich learning for all. At Harding, this is a strong belief that all students can succeed. And the growth of emergent multilingual learners reflects that commitment. This progress is the result of intentional systems alignment and the data-driven instruction. This school has developed a strong MTSS system that closely monitors EML students across all 4 language domains. Teams regularly review progress towards reclassification and adjust instruction based on student needs. After each progress monitoring cycle, teachers and teams refine instruction and strengthen small group supports using strategies such as visuals, graphic organizers, sentence frames, and instructional academic discussions. Family engagement is also an area that she highlights as a strength, as there are sessions where she holds sessions with parents to really share with them not only what the LPAC results mean, but also the design of the assessment and ways in which parents can support students in language development, and that could be within Spanish development because it does transfer to English development. And with that, I want to invite Mrs. Curry to share with us about Washington Elementary.
Good evening, Superintendent Maldonado, Board President Banning, members of the board, Executive Cabinet, and our Santa Barbara Unified community. My name is Ariel Curry, and I'm the proud principal at Washington Elementary School. At Washington, we are dedicated to cultivating a community of lifelong learners by building academic confidence and honoring the unique contributions of every student. We know that student success requires a collective effort, and tonight I'm excited to share how we have specifically strengthened our support to our EML students that has contributed to our 17% growth of students who have increased 1 LP level on the LPAC. This past year, we have intentionally focused on Tier 1 instruction through integrating IELD strategies with our core curriculum. We specifically prioritize the discussion supports language routine, in which teachers foster a culture of collaborative conversations and academic language across all student groups. To support this growth, we are utilizing informal walkthroughs to provide teachers with immediate actionable feedback on their implementation. Our teachers and MTSS team work closely with our bilingual paraeducator to design and monitor targeted interventions. This collaborative partnership ensures that our support is not one size fits all, but rather uniquely responsive to the individual student profiles identified by LPAC data. We believe in empowering our students to lead their own growth as early as kindergarten. Through one-on-one LPAC chats between teachers and students, we help students understand their own data, fostering the self-advocacy skills they need to take true ownership of their learning journey. At Washington, we celebrate our families as true partners in education. Through our MLAC meetings, we provide the resources and training necessary for families to foster a rich multilingual environment at home, strengthening skills in both English and their primary language. We are incredibly proud of the progress our EML students are making. As we move forward, we remain committed to refining our practices to ensure every student succeeds and every family feels fully supported by the Washington community. Thank you for your time tonight, and we are proud of the work we're doing at Washington and invite you to come see the great work of our students and staff in action. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Brock.
Great, thank you, Ms. Curry. Dr. Martinez, good evening. Board President Banning, Superintendent Maldonado, members of the board, executive cabinet, and members of the public here this evening. Thank you again for having me here to talk about our growth at La Cumbre. As Dr. Martinez pointed out with the LP data, the 24 and 25 bars that you see there reading left to right, those show comparable scores and performance for the same cohort of students. As you know, junior high is a group of 7 and 8, and we group students according to their language level, not by grade level. And the majority, 63.8%, increased 1 to 2 levels, which is remarkable. Very few schools can have that rate of growth, and in fact, we went from red to blue on the dashboard. We want to celebrate any growth on the dashboard as we move up 1 color level, but to go from red to blue in 1 year is truly remarkable. And the fact that we have 0 students who decreased in the LP level, that little pink band that was 15%, we zeroed that out as we moved through this cohort. And this high rate of reclassification at La Cumbre really aligns with our district priorities once again of elevating attention on our LTELs. So by effectively reducing the number of LTELs through reclassification, we're achieving that goal. Next slide, please. And similar to Harding, La Cumbre is an IB candidate school, and we are developing a culture around elevating the linguistic and cultural exceptionalities of our students each and every day. And I also want to thank my colleague, Ms. Binkley, who is here for helping us build that IB pathway, and also thank my colleague, Ms. Curry, as well. Many of her Washington students feed to La Cumbre as well. And really, there's a lot that we're doing at La Cumbre that aligns with our EML master plan. Ms. Curry highlighted a few points. The cohort model is really integral to what we're doing. It was a radical change, actually. Up until a few years ago, we were programming ALD students according to grade level, and we made the shift to program them according to language level, and then really be strategic about our EML lead co-teaching in those classes. And we're also using our district software program, Lexia, to further differentiate for students based on their individual needs and progress. The second factor as part of our success is the interim LPAC. Similar, once again, to what we're doing at our sister elementaries, the interim LPAC is administered twice a year. It's a formative assessment, and it evaluates student skills in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And this level of progress monitoring helps us track progress and also adjust instruction throughout the year. And last are the LPAC chats. These really help students foster what Dr. Martinez indicated as child agency and self-efficacy, really giving them a sense of, yes, I can do this. And at La Cumbre, we take it another level by actually asking our students to take their learning plan home to their families, share their learning plan with their families. They record that audio and then upload it into Canvas. So we really make a conscientious attempt to really close the circle and bring in our parents to participate in that goal-setting process with their child. Thank you.
So that concludes our report. So we welcome any questions or comments.
Do we have public comment on this item?
I don't have any cards. No, we don't.
No, so we'll go on to board questions first. Any questions? No? No questions?
You don't have to ask questions.
Oh, you do, okay.
Okay, apparently I've been elected to ask first. Thank you for those presentations. I would like to ask Principal Brock about the cohort model. Do you mind if I could ask you for your seat? That sounds really, really good and really interesting. And was this a small test of change, and is this something that we are considering across our elementary schools?
We're actually implementing the cohort model, and Dr. Martinez, feel free to jump in as well, at our elementary schools and also our junior highs as well. This was part of our EML master plan, and we started this about 3 to 4 years ago, and it really helped to, I think, shift our mindset in terms of really targeting instruction towards language level as opposed to grade level, and it's really been a big part of our success at La Cumbre.
Thank you very much for a really informative presentation, and thank you to our principals, Principal Curry, Principal Binkley, and Principal Brock for this amazing work. It's very exciting, and thank you. So my question is basically about the district level goal for is it based on LP versus reclassification? Can you tell us what the goal is and where we are in terms of achieving that goal?
So the goal is 57% of the students would increase in LP level, and we won't have those results until we get the results from our LPAC administration this year.
So I guess my question is, I assume it's a multi-year goal, so like over the 3 years of the LPAC, how are we moving towards that goal?
So when I go back to the LCAP, there was 46% on the first year, and I believe it was 47 or 48% the second year. You can bring it back if you want. Sure.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And then I guess, do we also track performance across every school and how every school is doing over time?
So we have a platform that has the capacity to mimic school dashboards. So what you see as a district, every school has its own dashboard too. So they use that to progress monitor. So the kids that are showing like a decrease, we can zero in and know who these kids are. The kids that are in the maintained or didn't move an LP level, similarly. And that's information that the schools use in their MTSS systems. There's another system within where it illustrates in a color code manner, like the trajectory towards reclassification. So they're tracking basically every time they have intervals or cycles. One of the things they closely track is reading comprehension, which is one of the indicators to reclassify. So that's a system within a system. Yeah.
Thank you. Those are my questions. Yeah. Thanks very much.
Are there other questions? Carlos?
Hi. I was just wondering if you could explain a little bit more about what the process is for English learners who do decrease at least one level.
What's the question? One more time.
The process for support after that is detected.
So they have to have the designated ELD support, and that is at their acquisition level. So that gets modified based on the childs that are identified as not improving. They are receiving intervention. Oftentimes, literacy and language development are they work side by side. So those are some of the interventions that the students receive, definitely reading comprehension. And then the language acquisition is woven in throughout across content areas.
Thank you. It's clear that as a district, we're going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And then tonight we heard about 3 schools that are really exceeding expectations, right? And really doing something wonderful. How are we taking the lessons learned at these 3 schools and expanding it across the district?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. There are conversations among leaders as far as the strategies that they are closely monitoring in their success. A lot of it is aligned with the district goals. For instance, integrated ELD would be one, academic conversations and having discourse. That really does help the students just accelerate their language acquisition. Ensuring that the rigor is supported by supports rather than giving them lower level text per se. So those approaches are very much present in every school site within their own goal setting. As far as monitor, how are we using a lot of what these 3 schools or the practices that they are employing? I think it falls into the intentionality and the close monitoring, and I think our principals are really doing a great job with identifying students that are close. How can we support them? I can tell you right now, as we're getting closer to the end of the reclassification or the assessment administration, there are students that have not been assessed because they're going to be giving them the reading assessment because they're so close. So if we can avoid having them go through assessment one more year, then the sites really do know who these students are.
I appreciate that. My follow-up would be, can I confirm that there are spaces for conversations to happen between principals to share about the bright points or the strategies, even the strategies that maybe aren't as successful, that we assumed were going to be successful and maybe weren't as effective, and then the strategies that were really effective and that these 3 school sites have leaned into?
Sure.
This is a really great question, and one of the things we are beginning to implement as all of our principals have gone through results-based leadership is the process of starting to do factor analysis. So that's when you look at what positively impacted the results or maybe negatively impacted results, so that we can have the principals do that deeper reflection with their results that they're getting. So for example, at our most recent principals leadership team meeting, principals did that with their STAR reading data. And I know that will be a presentation for a future board presentation, but that is the practice that we are implementing now that everyone is results leadership trained.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My question, well, first of all, I want to thank Trustee Escobedo for asking my question. I think that's a really important important information for us to see. This was remarkable success, and kudos to the 3 schools doing that. And, you know, when we have that kind of success going on right here, I think that's where we need to be looking about where to transfer the skills and the protocols that are being used. So kudos for that. I appreciate it. I did have a question. I want to understand a little bit more what the cohort system looks like in junior high school. Is it simply the 7th grade moving to 8th grade each time, or and is it a true cohort, or is it who happens to be in the class at that time?
So what? Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, President Banning. There's 3 aspects of the cohort model. One is, as I referenced, the language level grouping.
Mm-hmm.
So students are grouped with their peers that have similar levels of proficiency, and that's determined by a suite of tools that we use in our district. So we're bringing these tools, this suite of tools, to the table to really be targeted about identifying the students and then strategically programming them into their schedule. We use IELTS screeners, also Dr. Wilson mentioned STAR. We also use STAR scores and also their previous LPAC scores. So we have a spreadsheet of all of that data, and we're cross-referencing that to then also have qualitative discussions as well with our language acquisition team, and to go ahead and program those students. That's the highest level of precision programming we've had, using those different data tools that really allow us to hone in on cohorts that are very specific and targeted. That we also have targeted instruction that goes along with that. Once we have those cohorts that are grouped by level, as Dr. Martinez was referencing in her slide, there can be up to 6 levels. We have 3 classes at La Cumbre. Then teachers can adapt their instruction to the proficiency level of that cohort, which we weren't doing before. That was just grade level, as you know, as a former principal.
Yeah.
So we're able to use strategies like scaffolding, as well as the Lexia program to create stations within those cohorts that really allow us to target those LPAC skill areas. And then lastly, our MTSS model as a district is really key to provide integrated support. Ms. Curry referenced that at Washington, as well as Ms. Binkley. This model involves co-teaching. All of our schools have EML leads, where we have an EML lead co-teach with the actual EML specialist. They work together. They align the academic standards and with the LPAC, and they're very targeted in that integrated support model.
Great, thank you. So as just an aside on that, when we look at the dashboard and see this difference between 24 and 25, that's representing all EMLs, the score for the entire school one year and then the next.
Correct. When we do look at that side-by-side score, those scores show comparable performance of one cohort.
Okay. Right. So, so I'm looking at one that says 2024, there's 35%, and then it moves to 63. Is that group consist of 50% new students in the second year?
It does, yeah, in
Okay.
the junior high model, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, good. Thank you very
Great.
much. I appreciate it.
No, of course.
All right, comments?
I just wanted to say I appreciated the presentation and the information that was presented to us. I appreciated your, telling us about what Principal Binkley has at her school and what her efforts. And then, of course, I appreciate Ms. Curry and Mr. Brock for being here. EMLs are, of course, something that are very special to me, being a English learner myself and such. And so, no, thank you. And thanks for your for what you've done and then for your continued work.
Others?
My comment is kind of as we think about, this is kind of as we think about board governance and setting a board-specific goals, I think it would be helpful to have a really specific measurable board goal for emerging multilingual students so that we can monitor progress over time, because having a specific goal and some key metrics that we can track over time will help us stay at the balcony level, but really hopefully have clear direction for the whole district.
All right. Mr. Escobedo?
Just going to say thank you, and Ms. Curry, Mr. Brock, Ms. Binkley, be very proud of the work that you're doing. And I'm happy to hear that there's going to be space for us to share the lessons learned and do that factor analysis. That's exactly what I want to hear, is that we're doing this throughout the process. We can try things, fall short, we can try things and be really successful. So thank you for being here, and just I'm very proud of the work that you all are doing.
Thank you. Others? Carlos?
Thank you so much for that presentation. I also wanted to say congratulations to the schools, these 3 schools highlighted, for all surpassing 50% of students, who increased in these ELPI levels. I think that's incredible. And I especially appreciated the LPAC chats aspect, because I thought, specifically at La Cumbra, where students are setting goals with their family members involved. I think that's an incredible process that not only, in terms of accountability, not only helps students within the classroom, but then also having that accountability with their parents at home. Especially when talking about how we can expand the positive impacts of certain aspects of these programs to the rest of the schools in the district. I think that's one important aspect to highlight. So thank you so much for the presentation.
Any other comments? All right, thank you very much. Outstanding presentation. That will bring us to item F2, the Finance Committee update. Dr. Maldonado, will you introduce our presenter?
Board members, I have Mr. Tedeschi coming up to give an update. A couple board meetings ago, I was directed to have staff conduct 2 items that he is going to now give you an update on based on the directive that was given to us.
There are some slides. Oh, here we go. Thank you, President Banning, members of the board, Dr. Maldonado. Appreciate this opportunity to come give you an update on Finance Committee. And before I get into the recommendations, I just wanted to mention logistically, our agendas are now going to be on our new agenda system where the board agendas are. So we're going to use that out for our next meeting, which is Tuesday. So I'm excited to kind of get that formally included into our agenda system. And so tonight we're going to give you an update on there were 2 specific recommendations from the Finance Committee to the board, which was then directed to me to move forward on doing some work to compile some information for the board and for the committee. So the first action item was to complete the introductory diagnostic tool for the Government Finance Officers Association, and the second was to conduct a deeper analysis of the general administrative costs for the district, both of which have been done. But as we move forward, there's still more work to do in committee on both of these items. I think there's still some time that needs to be spent. At our last meeting, we had it on the agenda, but we spent a little extra time on the second interim, and we kind of ran out of time pretty quickly. So the first was the introductory diagnostic tool from GFOA, and really it's focused on the Smarter Schools budgeting program, which I've looked into. I completed the diagnostic tool, and it was really informative as to what some of the things we are doing and what are some of the things that we probably need to focus our attentions on. And so a couple of the things, as I went through, the diagnostic tool is actually linked to the March 17th Finance Committee agenda on the website as I've completed it. But I do want to mention some of the higher scores in the areas that I were given is we have the right people with a lot of experience that can really move us forward in if we are going to enhance our budget development process. And so I'm really excited about the staff that I have that works on our budget. We also have communication tools and processes to really engage the board and our community and the finance committee. We have some great communication tools through social media, through our website, through notices that go out, and through these meetings to be able to communicate some of the things that are important as we get into budget development. And we also have staff, our cabinet, everybody is really available and would be dedicated to really engage around instructional priorities. And so that's was a big theme, instructional priorities. And we've talked about it a little bit in committee, and I think that's a direction that we really need to move forward. And not just high-level priorities, but getting more granular into the detail of that. And I do want to mention there are 4 of us in the room this evening that are on the committee, so at any point through this, any of you who are at the meetings, please feel free to jump in. Some of the things that we need to work on or make some progress towards or that could really enhance what we're trying to do is to really, like I mentioned, drill down into those instructional priorities and really treat the budget, the entirety of the budget, almost like we do the LCAP, where we really get into setting goals and having the priorities and really digging in as we identify those critical elements and how we come up with costs and cost-saving measures for those. Identifying cost savings options, to identify areas that we might be able to make reductions or become more efficient. And then finally, I need to work on enhancing our budget document to really get into a little more detail about these priorities and costs and what we're doing and are we accomplishing that and maybe a return on our investment in those items. And so that was the diagnostic tool. At this point, I did put up here that we don't recommend necessarily moving forward with joining the Alliance, but I do plan on utilizing the tools and kind of seeing what's there to help us guide us in that direction, at least not joining the Alliance now. There's a capacity for myself to have to manage all of that, and from the information on the GFOA website, to really make this work, you have to invest a lot of people and a lot of time, because it's not just the budget people, it's our educational people, it's basically our entire cabinet, including the superintendent, to really make this work. And so at this point in time, I think it's just not the right time to jump in wholeheartedly into this, but I think I can use some of those concepts as we talk in the Finance Committee and in Cabinet and through budget development to really get that focus on those instructional priorities. The second item there is the general administrative cost analysis. And so at one of our prior meetings, one of our committee members did a detailed kind of high-level analysis into our general administrative costs here at the district office. And you could see through his analysis the increase in costs over time with declining enrollment. And so the recommendation was made to the board to really dig in a little deeper into that. And so staff and I worked together to really come up with a lot of detailed data by line item, to really kind of break out the large numbers into smaller numbers with individual accounts for us to analyze. At that next meeting, Our committee member who had done the analysis wasn't at that meeting, and he would have been a real good person to have into part of that conversation. And again, we didn't have enough time to spend on it. So I plan on putting both of these items on our agenda for Tuesday to have that further that conversation, and hopefully we can get to the end of that conversation, or at least to determine what next steps might be. And so those were the two items, both of which still need some work. I think the diagnostic tool is done, but I think we didn't get enough time in committee to really discuss it. And so at this point, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And so in our next steps, I think we really as a committee need to make sure we're working on alignment and goals. We've met 10 times, and I think it's a new committee with new people. I'm new myself still. It's been 10 months. I still consider myself relatively new. I'm going to keep using that as an excuse for the foreseeable future. But I think it's important that we all kind of get aligned on what our budget looks like, what the budget document looks like, and kind of get familiar with our processes to really move forward on coming back to the board with some real good recommendations on where to look next, what to do next, and how to make the committee work really well. I think we're close. We're not quite there yet. Hopefully we can kind of make this a real productive group. And just so everybody knows, we have 2 board members, 2 of our union representatives, 2 committee members, myself and our student board member, and 2 principals on the committee. And it's a great group of people that are very different in their roles for the district. And I think hopefully we can start to really make some good progress soon. So that's what I have for you this evening. I'll take any questions or comments.
Thank you. Do we have questions? Public comment?
None
No
that I
public
know-
comment?
None.
Questions from any of the board members? Trustee Beal?
Thank you for that explanation, Mr. Tedeschi. So I understand that this tool it's been insightful, is what I can gather from what you said, and you're going to bring it back to the Finance Committee to discuss in more detail the areas, I suppose, that have been identified. The question I have is, as you know, the Finance Committee is an advisory committee for the board, and I think ultimately we want spending to be directly linked to our goals. And so my understanding is this tool was to sort of see how close are we to doing that. And if I understand what you're saying correctly, you feel that there's capacity right now to do that, and this tool might, if we were to adopt this process, it would be time and energy and work that might take a while. Is that correct?
I think that's a
sure
pretty accurate assessment.
Okay.
I mean, it's a real investment in it, but we have a big budget.
Yes.
That we need to get through.
So I guess my question is, really, we're going through all this process of analyzing our finances. Where's the place where we actually link it to our goals? Like, really down to the nitty-gritty. And I'll just say a little bit more, is just from my point of view as a board member, we have such a big budget, like you said, and so many areas to spend it. How do we look at our budget, and would this tool or another tool or any action by the Finance Committee allow us not only to make sure that our spending is in line with our goals, but that we are really planning 2 or 3 steps ahead? And that really has to do with our restricted funds, that we have a term for our restricted funds, and that we're not in a cycle of not spending money when we should, and that we even have, Board President Banning has often said, we wish we had the money to spend on everything we want to do. And so that we even have, so I guess I'm asking, is the Finance Committee able to even say, okay, now we have money that, because we're saving money, we can spend on things, like really tying a lot of issues together. So that's my question. I didn't know if this tool, I'm not a finance person, was going to get us closer to that type of planning. If you're saying that you already have a process in place, or maybe this one isn't the one you would choose, that you might choose another process. So really kind of looking to the future.
Right. I want people to understand we do have a really good staff of people working on the budget that's doing a lot of good work. There's still room for some improvement in really getting down to that granular goal level. And I think really that's the work that needs to be done, you know, as we work on a strategic plan, really setting more detailed goals of priorities and programs. And I think whether it's this tool or some other way of, I think we all kind of get the idea that it's about setting the spending priorities and tying the spending to those priorities and getting some metrics as to whether are we hitting it or are we not. And just as a quick example, I went to the conference that Tyler, who oversees our, who actually sold us our financial system. And so there's updates that they've done. And they have a whole module now called priority-based budgeting. And so it's a tool that they have that uses AI to take your transactional data, set metrics, provide reports. And so there's many different options for us to move toward what we're getting at. I think we've come to a point to where I think we're kind of feeling the same type of goals here to really get a good understanding publicly for where our money's going. I don't necessarily think that the Finance Committee would be about save money here, spend it there. Because I think that's the board's responsibility. But I think the Finance Committee can identify areas of savings and kind of get us, you know, make the recommendations. But even within that committee, there's competing priorities from union reps to principals to board, like it would be, and even community members, different priorities would be different as far as brought forward. But I think it's a good forum for us to really get into where the priorities are. Do we have the right tools to analyze that? And I think that would be the next step for the Finance Committee of, you know, finding out where the funds are. But I think it's this board that would set priorities for the spending and how that would go. And then the Finance Committee would be there to say, okay, the board set these priorities, show us where the money's going. And that is how I see it kind of moving forward. I don't know, any other members can jump in.
All right, Vice President Munoz, go ahead.
Thank you. As we fight over who goes first. Thank you, Ms. Caffrey. Yeah, I wanted to ask, you know, from the conference that you attended, that as mentioned, do you see possibly the priority-based budgeting as a good model to how, you know, to help lead your efforts?
The thing that I like about it is it's fully integrated to our position control, to our budget, to our pay. It's fully integrated to everything there. So I have the rep's name. I need to schedule a demo to really see. I saw a little bit of it, but I really need to see, evaluate it and maybe bring it to the Finance Committee to take a look at too, to see if that's something that we would do. Because I really like the idea of having one system where all the data is, that we can get the data out, move the data in, run reports, so it's all in one place instead of moving it from this system to that system and then churning through it. So that would be the goal.
That sounds awesome. Thank you, and
Sure.
thank you for your presentation too. It's very helpful.
Trustee Caffrey.
Thank you very much for the presentation, and I heard so many things that I really appreciate. So I think having priorities from the board, very specific, measurable priorities, goals, SMART goals, and then aligning the budget to those goals, and the board understanding our spending and how our spending aligns to our goals. And then, so yes, I heard many very positive things. My question is, how would you use this to inform the next steps? So for example, like creating identifying cost savings that other districts are using successfully. That was one piece that was a part of the diagnostic test, or creating a 3 to 5 year financial plan that is linked to the strategic plan. So I'm curious how you think about that.
Right. I think moving toward specific areas in the budget and benchmarking specific areas, kind of like we talked about with general administration, is a good way to look. I think a next big step for us in the process will be setting priorities and goals, starting high and kind of getting down, you know, for mental health, here's the priorities and the goals of things. That was just an example. But I think that's kind of the next step as we move toward the strategic planning process, looking out over the next few years, and really as we're putting the budget together now, really keeping those concepts in focus. I can't do them all in the next month for the current cycle, but I think as we move forward, chipping away and adding additional reportability goals, really kind of getting into it as we move forward, as it's a growing piece, then hopefully sooner than later we have a great model that we can count on. It just takes time to implement it all, and I think identifying those areas to really look at first is probably a good way to go.
Mr. Escobedo, any questions?
Yeah. I guess it's more about the mechanics and how it's been going. And the last time that we had the finance committee topic in front of us, we were trying to narrow the scope. I think because it was a little all over the place and there was authority creep into maybe some of the board's responsibilities. It doesn't sound like that's an issue anymore. But what about the productivity of moving towards getting insight about parts of the budget? Or I see the finance committee as a really good opportunity to have discussions about the budget, the budgeting process, for you to bring items to the committee when you're weighing different different either paths to getting feedback or even specific decisions you're making about budget priorities. How has it been going? And I'm kind of going to open it up to my fellow members. And this is, I'm going to challenge you all to be frank and honest, because as a board member that isn't there and isn't privy to this information, I do want to make sure that this is as productive as possible. And I think it's really easy for a committee like this, a really important one. There's so many directions to take it. And for it to be productive, it has to be really focused. You can try and do many things at one time, and you're going to do them all unsuccessfully. If you stay focused, we can make some real progress on our budget. So I'll start with you, Mr. Chudesky.
Yeah, I will be very honest. It has been a challenge. It's been a challenge to identify for me what are the important topics to bring, and what will the committee get the most out of, and what direction do I think the committee should go. And that's where the misalignment has come a little bit into where I've thought maybe this is what we should do, where kind of the committee will then go a different direction. So I think that alignment piece, I'm still trying to find that sweet spot of structure, of how to best break it all down to bring smaller chunks to the committee in a digestible way that can facilitate the conversation. I don't want it to be just me standing there talking to the committee either. It really needs to be, okay, here's the topic, here's a little data, let's talk about it. I think that's the direction I'd like to go, and I think we've had some of that. We've had a couple really good meetings. We've had some where we kind of went all over the place, but I think really keeping that direction and also trying to keep the committee as a whole on board. Because, you know, when you have a committee, you may have one or two members that have a lot more to say than others, and so then others don't speak as much or may not have as much input. We really want to get everybody involved, and so that's kind of, those are some of the struggles we've been having, really trying to identify those specific areas to focus in on that will bring the most value to the committee and to the board through recommendation.
And what has the time dedicated, like this is an investment. The finance committee is an investment of your time, your team's time, and an investment that can be really, really prosperous for the school district, but it could also be taxing if we're not seeing the productivity on the other end. And I think you spoke to it a little bit earlier, and I think we should be frank. There are a variety of interests, and sometimes they conflict. And that's not to say that they're bad interests, it's just to say that they're different. And the perspective of a board member is different than a perspective of a principal. That's different. I mean, heck, we have 6 different opinions up here. So I'm kind of leaning towards trying to reassess how we continue to focus and fine tune this. Can you talk a little bit about the time that you're dedicating towards supporting the finance committee?
That's a good question. Depending on the topic, like compiling the general administrative cost data took a couple hours of staff. I've had, we have an agenda setting meeting, so it's not hours and hours and hours and hours, but I think as we move forward and find those areas we want to focus in on, it will become more. And so I think we're still trying to find that right lane to get into, to where we're covering a topic, I bring data, we move on, and I think it moves along. So it's not unbearable amount of time right now as it's set, but I think there's more progress, and I think we need to get there as we look at some of the priority-based budgeting pieces. Without the right tools, that can be very time-consuming. So I think finding that lane between the board, what the board wants from us, and what the committee wants, I'm kind of in the middle, wanting to please both. And so that's, I don't know, it's kind of a roundabout answer, but I think it's something I'm committed to do, and want to make it work if it's going to work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Superintendent Maldonado has asked for some comment.
I'd like to add a little bit to Mr. Tedeschi's answer as someone who's helped overseeing his work and his management of his team. I think what I'm observing is the learning curve for Mr. Tedeschi of coming into a new district where he's learning a K-12 finance system, while at the same time trying to, and this is not a performance evaluation, but manage a new committee. The curve of learning for both him to do those things, including the members of the committee in what is exactly their goal, is where from the reports that I'm getting, that is the pressure point. And as a leader, one of the things that I want to make sure we think about, and us as a governance team, is we can talk about the work we're going to do or actually have time to do the work. And so for me, the tension point to your question is that my observation is, and I know that before we voted for this committee, there was one of you who made a comment, we have a new assistant soup coming in and maybe we needed to postpone it. Too late for that, we've already started. But I think that let me say it this other way. We need to manage expectations as a board, as a governance team, of how fast things are going to happen. And in order to do that, I think we do need to recalibrate and think about how that's going to happen. We expected recommendations this year. They didn't happen. It's too late in the budget cycle to even get any. Now we're looking into a new budget cycle. And so I think it's important, in addition to Mr. Tedeschi doing everything in his heart and soul to ensure that we all get what we want, he is also learning a new team of very dedicated people. We have to align our expectations and really be sure that it's not just a one perspective in order for that to continue. So I just think it's really important, to your question, that we think about what that's going to look like. And I know we have another topic later about committee work and all of that, but if you even look at our committee list in a later board agenda item, we can also start to lead a lot by committee, and then when do we get to the work? So it's really important, how do we want to manage that? I just want to add to that observation, and I want to commend Mr. Tedeschi for shifting his leadership skills into new ways that wasn't exactly something when we hired him was an expectation. Thank you.
Trustee Caffrey.
So what I think that would really help the Finance Committee is basically, as we've said over and over again, the budget should support the goals of the district. So we need board smart goals, and basically we need a strategic plan, because without those things, how can the Finance Committee, basically the Finance Committee's role is not to say what we should be spending money on, but aligning the spending with goals. So basically, I think that is the major reason we've been totally adrift as a Finance Committee, is that a budget starts with goals and a plan, and you're aligning the two together. So I think that has really been the challenge. Like, I don't think that the Finance Committee is fighting over competing priorities. It's that we as a governance team really need to set better direction, and then the budget will basically support that. So that's my point. Like, how can the board support the Finance Committee, I think, is to work on those things. That would make a huge difference. And then my other point is basically, Finance committees are standing committees in many districts, and I assume many of them are highly functional. So I would love to also hear, like, how Finance committees are structured in a way that they are super productive. I think they're, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, and that it is hugely important to focus on this. I mean, basically, like, our budget is all we can achieve in our district, like, and how well we manage it makes a huge difference for students. Our efficiency, knowing how effective our programs are, how cost effective they are, I think all of that will really benefit our students and the performance of the district. So I think I truly appreciate all of Mr. Tedeschi's work, and I think as a board, really, and I know that President Banning, you've talked a lot about this, like the board setting direction for our district, but that is what would make our Finance Committee successful.
Vice President Munoz?
Certainly, thank you. Initially, when we thought about, when we discussed, I should say, the Finance Committee, I certainly voiced concern about having a Finance Committee before Mr. Tedeschi came on. First of all, I stressed that, and I thought it was, it was a real concern. And then, we certainly have talked about, resolved some concerns about who should be on the committee, et cetera, et cetera. I'm concerned about, well, one, first of all, to address, Ms. Caffrey's concerns, I know I find that the December, CSBA conference is helpful in terms of workshops with other schools that have their work with finance committees, different districts, what they've seen, what are their pros or cons, or how they have finessed that, first of all. Second, in terms of the Finance Committee meetings and the work that, that your department has, Mr. Tedeschi, certainly I've wondered, and this is, the three of you are there, and of course the superintendent is involved with this also, is how frequently the Finance Committee meets, how frequently the Finance Committee meets, and I imagine, you may have discussed that, and the timing of the meetings, and then are you able to, similar to other committees, say, well, we're not having a meeting this time, we have other areas of focus and such.
We've kind of drifted between questions and comments. I just want to make sure there's no other questions.
Well, we've heard from Ms. Caffrey, but I'd love to hear from President Banning and Mr. Vasquez about, you're on the committee as well, right? About your experience on the committee.
Yeah. Okay. If I could summarize what I think the challenges are, is that much like everything we do, there's a lot to be done, and it's complex, and there's 9 different people on the committee from different perspectives and trying to figure out how to make all that work. At the same time that we've been talking about processes to improve or redefine strategic plans, at the times that we've been talking about processes to strengthen governance protocols and things in general, that I think really what's happening that is the greatest challenge is the question of where are the priorities and what is the sequence to be dealing with them. And I mentioned at the last meeting that I have a tendency to kind of zoom out from it rather than to narrow down and say, let's look at the GNA. Let's look at the entire system. And one of the things that I've heard in my career many times is if you want to know what a district's vision is and what the district's priorities are, look at the budget. And what we're saying is we want to say these are the priorities and we want the budget to reflect that. We say look at the priorities. And that's a huge shift because in general, budgets are managed by very special people that can handle the complexity of the numbers and the counting and all of that type of thing. And they tend to live in silos. There's all the schools and the kids and the teachers and the custodians and the board and everybody, and then there's the budget people, right? And they have an audit committee because they have to have their budget audited. If we really want to get to something that is priority-based budgeting, it can't be done by looking at the budget. And it can't be done by looking at the strategic plan. It has to be done by looking at this holistically from the perspective of this is what our priorities are, this is how our budget aligns with it. I think it's easier to see what the end result is than it is to see how you get from here to here. And that, I think, is the biggest frustration because everybody everybody on the committee, on the board, might have a slightly different idea about what the most important way to do things are. Not only the sequences, but the ways. And this tool is an example. It may be a perfect way in some cases. It may not be relevant. But we focused on that and we're looking at it and we're going to see how that makes sense. But we can't keep looking at things in isolation. Here's first interim, here's second interim, here's strategic plan. We haven't even talked about how LCAP is measured and connected into the budget. So once again, it comes down to me to the level of complexity and perhaps frustration about not knowing how to get to what I think we probably all have a pretty common vision of what it should look like. But Trustee Caffrey, you talk about having strategic measurable goals for growth and things like that. Do we do that now and then connect the budget to it? Do we do the budget first and does the budget drive it? Yeah. These are the frustrations that I'm seeing in the committee.
And
go ahead, I'm going to.
Or maybe that is at a different time. And I truly think Mr. Tedeschi has been extremely supportive of the committee and has been putting in a huge amount of work. And I just, based on the verbiage, and sorry, Carlos, why don't you talk? Then I'll have my comment. Now I owe you $1 with the.
Well, it's 5 each time.
Yeah, it's fine.
I carry a few with me now.
All right. I mean, from what I've seen so far, I think the real problems with the committee would be the lack of a general understanding of what the committee's purpose is. Of course, we've talked about this, of exactly what our purpose is and what these meetings should look like, and then really a lack of, I think, specific direction. Specific direction could be super beneficial to this committee. I think being able to I shared in the past meeting about what I had envisioned my role to be in, or we all did really, but how my role, I was thinking with this committee would be to go and, maybe survey students and decide whether programs' effectiveness, stuff like that, where our money could be spent in smarter ways. Obviously, we haven't gotten to a point like that. And so I would say that lack of understanding and then that lack of direction would be the main things. And I would say based on the time I've spent in those meetings, I don't foresee the committee coming to like a consensus on, okay, this is what we should be focusing on. Like, I don't see all our principals, teachers, board members, all of us coming together and saying, okay, well, based on all of our different perspectives and whatever, we're all going to decide that this one thing is the thing that we're going to, whatever. I don't think, maybe some of you guys disagree, but I don't see that happens, especially not before my one-year term ends and the two principals, Mr. Holdren and Miss Chumerit, they finish their one-year term. And so I think that's, there's a lot, pretty much the entire time this committee has been alive that I've been going to meetings. There's been a lot of just back and forth on what the committee should look like. And I think that, a direction from this board or, from some administration on what exactly we could look at would be, would really put us a lot more ahead of the game. So.
All right. Trustee Beal.
So thank you for that, Carlos. I feel that we did set it up as a board advisory committee. And one of my thoughts in hearing this conversation is the finance committee has identified many areas in which they could focus. And at some point, I would think that they would say, we can't do it all. We think that these might be the areas that we can accomplish a lot in, and they bring it back to the board and say, what is our focus? Can we do 1 and 2, maybe 3 and 4 later? And so I think there really should be an interaction where the finance committee says we can't do all of these things in a year, but we can do these things. What is important to you as a board? And then just focus on that, because in an ideal world, we get it all done with the help of ChatGPT or Claude in like 5 minutes, but we're not there yet. So we focus. And I feel this, this idea that, I sit there listening to you and we're saying save money and then spend money responsibly, but we really haven't said what, right? And my thought for the community and this finance committee and the board is that our conversations in the boardroom aren't so difficult in terms of where we can afford to spend money and where we have to pull back. So when we have commenters saying that we are taking the family services department down to nothing, is the conversation really that we've built capacity somewhere else and we're focusing our money in those places, just like the CTE programs are saying, well, things have changed in 20 years. Now we have great CTE programs on the campuses. Do we need to place them at the Armory? That things change, and then people understand that change and how we change how we spend our money because those changes have happened. But just being very granular about the committee, I do think that we have to provide the finance committee, if we become outcomes focused, with what that means, right? And so that is a missing piece of the puzzle. But maybe for now, having a discussion about what you can do and maybe coming up with your own priority list of things that you think are really important, things that we need to understand, and then presenting that to the board.
So I think, the reason that the committee voted for the GFOA diagnostic tool is that it at least gives a roadmap of how do you assess a budget and make changes over time. So I think that's what the committee, the reasoning behind it is like, here is a roadmap. And maybe it's not the right roadmap, but it is a roadmap, and it's saying start with a strategic plan, have instructional priorities. You know what I mean? So my thinking is basically like, that it's a little premature because the committee wasn't able to even discuss the GFOA's diagnostic plan to say that staff advises not going forward without having input from the committee who advised that we talk about this tool in the first place. So I appreciate that it's going back to the committee on Tuesday, but I think like they whether it's this tool or another one, the whole point of the tool is that it gives you actual step-by-step, a step-by-step roadmap from going to a place where your priorities and your budget are aligned and everybody understands your spending. So I think like that is the reasoning behind this tool. I don't know if it's the right one, but for me, because the Finance Committee is an advisory committee, the fact that the committee wasn't able to vote on whether or not this seems like a good use of time is premature. And yeah, so that is my point, and I think to President Banning's, like, the end goal is clear, and so maybe that's what the committee needs to backward map to. We get to a day where our budget supports very clear 3 to 5 year goals with metrics, and then, like, what is it going to take to get there? I mean, that backward mapping, maybe that's the right approach.
I'm going to go to Mr. Munoz and then to Mr. Escobedo.
Okay, so I'd like to piggyback on what Carlos said, is that, because Carlos, from what I understand, you participate on the committee? Okay. And so I certainly, I agree that about, the different perspectives. I'm sure that there's some commonalities, but I think there's also some differences. I'd like to compare it with the Housing Committee that I'm on. On that committee, we have, for example, of course it's not the same. However, we have a lot going on with housing currently, and such, and without going into that detail. However, this month we haven't needed, there wasn't a need identified for the Housing Committee. And so I think that that's an example of when, are we there yet? We have a new finance director, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure if that's exactly your title, sir, but, and such. But we also have time of unsure finances, the administration, prices, gas prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Many different details with all of with running, 18 schools and such. And so I think that it might be prudent to look at, what are the goals, what are the achievable goals that can be for the Finance Committee, and also allow Mr. Tedeschi to determine, to be our point person, to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking at this time right now. These are the other things that are going on with the district financially and such. I mean, which, I'm not privy to, but, so you certainly are. So I'm not saying, I'm not certainly saying we shouldn't have it, first of all. I'm just getting from Carlos the perspective of as if I was in the room, that there are many different takes on it. Identifying like, as I asked you earlier, what did you find from the conference? That was all about finance, right? It's school finances and so forth. And in your experiences, with your lengthy experience with school finance and budgeting and so forth. So I'm saying, how about letting some, as just as an idea, letting some of this happen and then bringing it back so that you would meet and proceed from there, to where, with the goal ideally that it's going to be something that that you folks can meet about, like in terms of, goals, common goals. What are we seeing? What are the monies that came in actuality and so forth? So that, as a board member, that is what I'm encouraging.
Let's wrap things up. Board,
Yeah.
other questions or comments at
Yeah.
this point?
So where I'm landing is I still have a lot of questions about how productive the space is right now. And I think I have a little more insight tonight from the perspectives that have been shared. What I'm going to suggest, or I'm going to suggest a few things and just kind of gauge if we can provide general direction to the Finance Committee, is one, I would like Mr. Tedeschi, and if the committee, but I would definitely like Mr. Tedeschi to draft up possible focuses for the finance committee and present them at the next finance committee or the meeting after. I would eventually like there to be some recommendation, and it needs to be focused for the finance committee. I would like that to be presented to the board. And I want two things. I want how the committee votes as a majority. I want to know what the vote was. And I also want to know separately what the suggestion is from Mr. Tedeschi and his staff. And the reason being, and the reason why I wanted to separate the two is Mr. Tedeschi has insight into what an undertaking, a suggestion, or a focus can be for the finance committee. And I want that pulled apart from the committee so that we can weigh the pros and cons and all of the considerations for the suggestion from the finance committee and weigh that against what is the investment that we are going to request from Mr. Tedeschi and his staff. I am going to ask Ms. Powell to look into, can we have this committee recorded and available for review for just the public, similar to any other board meeting? It happens at city councils with their ordinance committee, their finance committee, and so they have, similar to this committee, a minority of their council, and it would be the minority of our board. So I don't think that there's a Brown Act violation, but that would be fine. It just kind of be these folks over here. Yeah. So maybe looking at that'll be one of the recommendations, maybe to come back to us with, is if that's feasible for our staff, and I think that's more for Dr. Maldonado. And then I think it comes back to the board and we can have a discussion about what the focus is going to be and really making this a productive space, because I think it has the potential to be. And I think all that's happening right now is folks are frustrated because they know it has the potential, but it feels like we're just spinning our wheels and we're investing time and not seeing the fruits of that labor. So that's what I put on the table for my colleagues.
Okay. Any last comments?
Just excellent, suggestion in terms of the, I believe, in terms of the finance committee. I've certainly sat in on, many, many city council meetings and attended, subcommittees and so forth and whatnot. And so I think that would be the most productive, and then we could come back and look at it.
All right. Anything else? I would just a closing comment. I'm fascinated to learn more about the priority-based budgeting and the Munis integration. I know how important that could be, and I want to thank you for the time of learning and setting those kind of things up. So I think where this has left us, I'm not exactly sure where it leaves us. So why don't you summarize? Yes.
As is my job, I want to make sure I understand the direction. I took fast notes, Mr. Escobedo. I'm by seeing the nods of the board members without taking a vote, it seems like we're reaching some consensus here that we are asking Mr. Tedeschi to draft the focus for the Finance Committee. We're asking him to ask the committee to make some recommendations to present to the board. We're asking him to provide information on how the committee votes in terms of the majority, or however the vote comes. We're asking him to, with his staff, create a separate suggestion about what needs to happen separate from the committee, so that you have it sounds like views from both perspectives. And then, yes, I can certainly look at the availability of the staff to record the meetings. The space and the time, I don't see a problem, but it will be an addition. I want to make sure the board knows it's going to be an additional cost to the board to pay staff overtime to do that. And I don't see it as a bad investment. I just want to make sure I captured that correctly, Mr. Escobedo.
Yeah, as long as I'm looking for two recommendations, one from the committee, one from Tedeschi and his staff. They could be the same in the end. They might be different. and
Yes.
be able to speak to what it would take to do both. Does that make sense?
So just a little clarity on the recommendation you're looking for.
Mhm.
Is it for the focus of the committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And can I add to, if you are writing up your Trustee Escobedo recommended having a write-up of how the committee should function, I would like to hear basically some research of other finance committees and how they are functioning. So I think informing it based on best practices for finance committees. So how are they typically structured in districts that are really high-performing financially?
Before we answer that question, I would like clarity from this board if that is what you're asking Mr. Tedeschi as part of this proposal, because that shifts the time and attention of Mr. Tedeschi's goal and what was I heard proposed. I just want to ask you for clarity.
Yes, and can I just give context for why? I basically think we have heard that the Finance Committee has struggled to coalesce. So I think, as you said earlier about schools learning from each other, schools learn from each other, best practices for schools. Similarly, we should be taking best practices financially and in our financial committees. So it just seems like this is worth the added investment so that we don't waste the time of everyone who's committed to serving on the Finance Committee. So that is my reasoning behind asking for that.
I would only say that the process of determining comparative and appropriate other locations that meet the terms of what you mean by high performing and so forth is also a lot of time and energy to find a comparison that is truly a legitimate one.
But I'm guessing Mr. Tedeschi is part of an association. He could pool his colleagues. I mean, it doesn't have to be scientific like exact. But I think just as this is really where I want to go with our financial management, just as we expect best practices for how we teach reading. Like, similarly, we can learn from others.
Okay, Mr. Escobedo, then.
I'm going to try to land us in a spot where we can move forward and say, I'm not going to go as far as where Ms. Caffrey wants to go. It might be helpful to provide options for the committee, provide a rationale on why you chose those options. My suggestion would be that we don't hold you to any specific process. Explain yourself. And that should be enough. The committee might also bring other options and settle on another option, which is why I want to have the two recommendations from the committee and from Mr. Tedeschi and his staff. And does that seem agreeable to the board?
Yeah, I would like to say that I'm in support of, as indicated in terms of Mr. Tedeschi and the committee. I do not support having Mr. Tedeschi research other schools, contact them, follow up, see how they, what models they use for budgeting and so forth. I am not supportive of that because of the cost and the time that would be spent.
Okay. Are we at a point we can move on? All right, thank you. I appreciate the dialogue on this. It's important. That will bring us to our action agenda. And the first item on that is the amended board committee assignments. And I think we're going to have, okay. So Ms. Powell, do you want to
Yes,
start?
as you may
have some
recall,
comments?
we did discuss, we just finished talking about one committee, and we know that we have to learn about how we're running the many committees, which you can see an extensive list here. I want to thank Ms. Powell for organizing the committees in a way that helps us all understand the Brown Act, the Green Act, and all else that's available. As we look at ways to involve community and other folks in the decisions that we're making, tonight what we want to make sure that we are clear on is who's participating when, and how is this work being led? Because there's many work streams that we have to conduct on top of all the other things that our cabinet leaders and directors are leading. Thank you, Ms. Powell.
Okay, so this item asks the board to assign board members to board committees under Board Bylaw 9140, and it categorizes each committee under the applicable legal framework. Just as background, Board Bylaw 9140 requires the board to formally appoint representatives to all district committees. And so this chart formalizes the assignments and adds some committees that weren't on the prior chart. So like, as everybody probably remembers, we went through this in December and January, and this is essentially a cleanup. I wanted to explain the way I organized the chart, which is into 3 categories based on who and who created the committee, how the committee was created, which determines what laws apply to the operation of the committee. So category 1 is Brown Act committees. Those are any committees created by formal board action. It doesn't matter who sits on it. If the board created it through formal board action, that makes it a Brown Act. The only exception is if it's a truly ad hoc committee, which none of these would qualify for. Category 2 is Green Act, committees required by the specific ed code. There's a specific ed code section that dictates which committees must operate under the Green Act, and they're pretty much just the parent advisory committees. And just to compare and contrast, so Brown Act has a lot of procedural requirements, as we all know and talk about a lot: posted agendas, public notice, public participation, and no discussion of committee business outside of noticed meetings. The Green Act is very similar, but the main difference is that last requirement under the Brown Act, the no discussion of committee business outside of noticed meetings, that requirement is lifted for the Green Act. So there's not the similar concern about parents or whoever talking about Green Act matters or Green Act committee matters outside of the meeting, but they still do have to comply with the open meetings and the posted agendas and allow public comment. And then the third category listed here is committees created by the superintendent to advise administration, and those are not subject to the Brown Act or the Green Act. And they're operational committees. So that was kind of the work I did, was really just trying to figure out all of the different committees that exist and put them in the chart. And then I think I'm going to hand over, I don't know if you want, Bill, me to hand over to you now to lead the discussion on kind of who should go where.
Yeah, I think we just want to make sure that we've got holes filled and the right people in the right place on this. So let's start at the top. Yeah.
I do want to note under the Brown Act Committee, and I apologize if you said it, Ms. Powell, there's a new one, which is the Career Tech Ed Advisory Committee. And you'll note in the document that is something we have not done. That is one of those moments, this is one of those moments where we're going to do, but the proposal is not to start till 26, 27. So for tonight, are we asking to assign, or do we move that to the December organizational meeting, which is when we actually select the committee members?
Mary Ann, do you know when it's going to start meeting? But I think this will be our first time to, like, if we don't do committee appointments until December, then there would be a few months of the committee operating without a board member on it.
Okay.
So that's a committee where the board can have a member on it, or they don't have to. So I think it's up to you, but I think now would be a good time to appoint.
Can we have that discussion first before we move on? Yeah. Thank you.
So is there an interest in us assigning board members for that committee now, to be effective in the beginning of 26, 27? Okay. But I want to make sure that what I'm hearing is later. I think it would make sense for us to have representatives on this at the start of that committee, or not tonight, perhaps.
Maybe we should get a write-up of sort of more what it's about and have a little more information.
Okay, I think that makes sense. We can get that done later this spring.
Yeah, and I agree, because I don't know where we're headed with the Armory project. And so I think we need to know more about what this committee might do.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, it's a required committee that we have not had. And so there's a learning curve on our side about how to set it up, because it is required. It's not something we are putting together, separate and apart from the Armory project for all CTE programs. And so I think the learning curve on our end is how to set it up, who's going to be on it. that's like the first phase of us getting started. And then the question is, do they have to have board members, or can we decide not to have board members, have the advisory committee run by staff? Does it still become a Brown Act? Because you have it as category 1. Can you clarify
It
that?
still becomes a Brown Act regardless of if board members are on it or not. For example, the CBOC is a committee that is supposed to be a Brown Act committee that is not actually allowed to have board members on it. So it will be a Brown Act committee no matter what. It does not have to have board members on it, but it can, and that's probably just something to decide once we bring the item back.
I hope that's helpful. I want to make sure
Okay, so
we're
I
all
think
clear
we
on
need
our own learning curve on the administration
I
side.
think we need a future agenda item to clarify more about that committee's role and select people at that point. All right, so let's just walk through these and see if things are okay and fill the gaps. Audit committee is currently trustees Caffrey and me. Anyone want to change that? All right, the Citizens Bond Committee, we don't have, there are none permitted, so the next.
May I ask a question
Sure.
about that, though? So is the board responsible for appointing people or recruiting people to the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee? Because I know we've had vacancies for some time, and I'm curious, do we need to be active in recruiting people? And then my other question is, I've tried to read the minutes of the Bond Oversight Committee, and there's no information in the minutes. So basically, how do committees where board members don't attend report out to board members so we understand what's happening?
So, so there are 7 members on the committee, and so we currently have 4. We're going to be we've been recruiting, and so advertising that process and getting the right person to fit that particular role. So we will be bringing a 5th person coming up either at the next board meeting or the meeting in May to be approved by the board. So CBOC is responsible for recruiting, and so we do all the recruiting we can. But ultimately, we bring the application here for the approval. So regarding the minutes, we'll go back and make sure that we capture everything that we're supposed to be capturing in the minutes. So.
For also, I think the plan is it may be like a slow rollout, but for all of the ones listed under Brown Act here, and maybe we should also do the Green Act ones to actually happen through diligent in terms of the posting of the agenda. And so that'll be where minutes are captured. So I think there will be more structure to it.
I do see the agendas, but I see minutes, but the minutes have no information.
You're absolutely right, and that's what we're saying. We're going to fix that, and we're going to start using it in diligence, so there's no like fishing for minutes like we currently have. You're absolutely right.
And then we get an annual report from that committee, is that right?
Yes, you do in the springtime.
Okay.
So, from the president of the committee.
Okay, the next is CABA. That's Gabe and Rose. This is now becoming a Brown Act committee. I don't think it has been in the past. Rose, you're listed as alternative on that.
Yes, certainly. And I'm interested, I would want to continue on that committee.
Okay, all right. The Finance Committee, that's Celeste and Bill. Any volunteers? I think we better stay on and figure it out. All right, the Housing Committee is Gabe and Rose.
I'm also curious about reporting out on housing.
Yes, and as Ms. Munoz said earlier, we have not met for a while. So I think that part of it is when we meet, we will have updates, but we haven't for a while.
And most of the time, I don't think I've missed a report out from our meetings. So we just haven't met in a long time.
Right,
So
yes.
at what point does a committee become ad hoc versus standing committee?
It's really about the jurisdiction. So if an ad hoc committee would be like, there's something happening right now, and it's going to end at some predetermined time.
So
the Housing Committee has in some documents called itself ad hoc, but I think ad hoc is actually like a legal question, and
Okay.
I would not say
So it's a
ad
Brown
hoc.
Act committee that's meeting on a as-needed basis?
Yes, but on a standing subject matter.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm sorry, I was, out of the room for a minute. Was it that we're going to report back on committees, or I'm not sure what the
No,
discussion was.
We're looking at the committees from the lens of whether they should have been or are Green Act or Brown Act or superintendent committees. And there are a couple of them that we have members that have been attending that had not been officially appointed. So we're just using this opportunity to double check where we are with all of them.
Thank
So
you.
that was Housing Committee. The Wellness Committee it has an NA, apparently not board members on that. That is also a Brown Act committee, is that correct? Okay.
Is it possible for board members to join that committee?
So it's possible. I don't know who knows the most about the Wellness Committee, and maybe they can come up, but it's my understanding that it's really more of a operational, I think the board has historically been on committees where it's really about like the high level oversight, governance, input that is the board role. So I think you guys just want to think carefully about, is the committee doing work that is actually appropriate at the board level, or is this more of a working group operational sort of body that it wouldn't make sense for a board member to be on, but it is ultimately up to the board member. And Kenya?
The Wellness Committee evaluates the nutritional program of the district. Its sole purpose is to do an evaluation every other year or every third year, I don't recall, and then to look at our wellness policy and make sure it's been implemented across the district.
So I guess my question is, kind of, right now we don't have a policy committee. And let's say tech policy that is integrated with wellness, or nutrition policy, or PE policy, I don't know. Like, how do we, as board members right now, approach writing policy if it's not, because when I asked about a wellness policy, they said it was going to be developed in the wellness committee, that in my board Q&A, or I misunderstood?
That is not true. The wellness policy is part of those standard policies that we bring through. That's from CSBA. We update it with specific names and things that are unique and specific to the district, but what is in there is standard language.
We do have current wellness policy within the CSBA. Okay, and then the question in regard to establishing committees was answered, I think, in the board correspondence. Right? Okay, so the next one is that finishes the Brown Act. And the Green Act, the first one is the DEMLAC committee, and that's currently Rose Munoz with Sunita as alternate. Are we okay continuing there?
Yes.
The Local Control and Accountability Plan Parent Committee, this has a TBA on it. Is this one
I think this is one where maybe some board members were wanting to go or were going, and so we just wanted to formalize that if that is going to continue to happen.
So I've been attending the meetings since before I became a board member, and I mean, if there is a place for a board member to be there, I would like to remain involved.
Okay. Can we put you down as the representative? Do we have a volunteer for an alternate?
I would like to be an alternate, if that would be a, good support, and an alternate.
And I'm going to ask a general question. Where we have committees where there is a committee member and an alternate, I'm presuming it's appropriate for both to attend. Yeah? Okay.
I also should have asked first, how often does this, it meets as needed, I would imagine, right? The LCAP, and also if they overlap sometimes, I'm also on the MLAC committee and so forth.
So traditionally, the part that I participate in is the parent one, and that one has a series of meetings that start in about April and run through May. So it's a very concentrated set of meetings, like 4? Yeah. And so that's what I participated in.
Sounds good, because I know that I've certainly sat through Mr. Venz's, LCAP presentation to the DEMLAC committee and such, but yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And I think we should get all of the assignments and then do a vote on the whole.
Okay. And then the SEAC, Special Ed Advisory, currently trustees Caffrey and alternate Beal. And in the superintendent created committees. This is where we have some folks that have been attending, and I think we want to fill some gaps formally. So there is a artificial intelligence committee that can somebody let me know how this is meeting and who's been attending or who is interested?
So we've only had one meeting, and I did attend that one. And I think it's taking shape. It's supposed to meet through, I believe, the fall of next year, and then I don't know if it'll be ongoing beyond that. I guess it depends on how the AI world treats us.
And this is separate from the tech committee, the district tech committee.
It was deliberately split, yes.
Right.
And I'd be interested in this committee also, as an alternate.
Okay, so
I would also be interested in that committee just because I'm on the tech committee and I've been reading a lot about tech, so I don't know if it's a strong interest for you, Trustee Munoz, or if...
I'm sorry?
Oh, I don't know if it's a strong interest for you to be on that committee or...
Yes, I would be more interested in the AI committee than the tech committee.
Oh, I was basically saying I'd love to serve on both, but...
I'm willing to step back. I will send my husband as an emissary, but, I mean, you know, it's okay.
I can't...
So I'm hearing on the artificial intelligence committee, Caffrey.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would we, well, honestly, like this is, you know, trying to figure out how to put this, would we send a spouse or family member on a committee?
I think it was a joke. I know he is.
He wouldn't represent me, but he has an interest in how the district develops AI technology. So I think there's all these working groups, and I don't know.
They are separate.
They're not a voting group, so I'm not sure. Is it really a conflict?
No, I think it's fine. I think everybody there has an interest in it. So I think it's, you know, he's not, I think he needs to be clear. He's not representing you. He's not representing the board.
But we do have the limit of 2?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So where are we landing? Gabe?
Can
So
I
if we
just
can go
voice-
back, I'm bringing my husband to the DEMLAC committee.
I just want to express I have a strong interest. Sorry, Dr. Beal. I have a strong interest in Dr. Beal being on the AI committee just because I know that this is something that she's very interested in. I've talked to her a few times about it. I don't know. I personally have a strong interest, but I will back out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally, okay, here's the deal. I think, you know, Sunita, if you're on the AI committee, I think that's a real asset. I would like to be on it, especially we're having a lot of concerns about this given my mental health background and issues with it in terms of how that can go, yes, bad and not so good. And for our students with their mental health welfare.
Are we sure that we're understanding the distinction here? Because I know that there's discussion about device usage and how much time kids are spending on devices at school and at home. And AI is really more about developing policies and understanding the capacity of this new tool embedded within the school. Is that?
That's my, yeah.
Yeah, so the AI committee Rob has been setting up, and he could certainly speak about this, has a couple of arms. One is to set board policy, to come up with board policy. And then there's a conference on April 30th where speakers we're still figuring out what's going to happen there, but there's some issues that people want to have addressed, concerns about AI and students. And so, yes, I do have a great interest in it. I've been thinking about it a lot. It's a big part of my career. So I'm happy to be on it, but I don't want to push somebody out who has a real interest in it. Tech Use Committee, which I also have been participating on for the last year and a half, has now turned into kind of a working group, and they're really talking about how we're going to manage technology with students. And I know that it was set up to be a limited, and it was supposed to kind of decide some things by the end of this year. But it's not clear to me that, you know, if we just sort of say, okay, we're going to take all the technology away from everybody, and we're just going to go into, you know, with our notebooks, that we can just do that, make that decision, and that be the end of the committee. I mean, I think there's a lot of talking. So I go to support the parents because they have some real concerns. So I don't know. I feel like we've got to think about this one a little bit more, and we're still kind of seeing where it's going. That's the complicated thing.
Well, we need, I think that we can,
I do think that you bring a lot of expertise to the AI committee, so it is important for you to be there.
And I,
Yeah.
for me, like if you're on the AI committee, I mean, that's great. I think we,
For me, the tech committee is more important, I would say.
so
yeah.
would you be all right with
So-
Sunita and Rose being on the AI and you on tech? And then is there another one or an alternate interested in the tech committee? I'll serve as an alternate if no one else on that. Oh, would you prefer?
I would be okay staying on it if nobody else
Oh, you're
wants to be
okay,
the alternate.
Okay, got it, okay. Leave me off, that's good, that's good.
They were all one, but now they're split into two, so that
Okay,
becomes a
so
little challenging.
AI now is Rose and Sunita, and the tech use is Sunita and Celeste. Okay. And that brings us down to the external and
Can I
yeah.
just ask one question? It's not about those committees. So the District Arts Steering Committee, I would say that it's not as much that I'm interested in being on those committees. I'm more interested in going to the meetings and seeing what's happening. As you may recall, we've had a lot of people talk to us about the Prop 28 funds. Yeah. And so it's really, I've gone just to kind of learn and understand how they work. I actually haven't been to the recent meetings because this is kind of the end of the year and there's not a lot of decisions being made. So I don't know what happens if a board member just says, hey, can I just go to one meeting? Can we, just to see what the conversation is, as opposed to participating with every single one?
That's, I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I'm used
think
to that in
It's
8
an
years.
important question.
I think it's a hard line to draw, and I have been trying to be clear about it, but I understand the resistance. I mean, I think under the question is, what does it mean to be on the committee versus going to committee meetings? And in my view, I don't think there's really a difference, especially when you're going as a board member, because when you go as a board member, even if you're like, I'm just here as a member of the public, like that's not how it's seen. And I think it also is very hard in practice to go and just listen. And I think the bigger thing is like, if you go but you're not on this list as assigned, then what if 2 other people do the same thing and then you have a Brown Act issue because you're all 3 there. So I think if you want to be on the committee, the thing to do is sell everybody on appointing you to the committee.
If I understand the conversation correctly, so I know that with our Brown and Green Act committees, we're going to have minutes. But with the superintendent-created committees, I'm just more interested in the decisions that are being made. Like, how much money do we have? What do we decide to spend it on? I mean, I think in an ideal world, we have something on our website that talks about how we're spending our Prop 28 funds. So literally people stop asking questions that I cannot answer. And so that's really in some ways my interest in going to the meetings, is to just see how the schools themselves say, okay, this is my pot of money, this is how I want to spend it. And then all these other people come and saying, why aren't we spending money on this? So I just want a greater understanding of how those funds are spent. They're ongoing funds. Everybody seems to be interested in them. Not everybody knows how they're being spent. So that's my only interest in going to the meeting.
Well, maybe part of the solution is for all 3 of these superintendent committees it's not a requirement under Brown or Green Act, but having a practice of having agendas with some minutes so that you could review and see what happened.
Like maybe a summary, I know it's work, but a summary of what transpired, just,
I totally agree with Trustee Beal because I cannot be on another committee. I feel like I'm really at capacity, but I would love to know what's happening. And maybe could we standardize what the minutes look like for committees so that we have discussion, and it could be an AI agent that does this, but we can read the discussion as opposed to just the decisions, because decisions without context, it's hard to understand what was going on. So
I
I'm just going to want
I have a concern
go
about, just real quick. I have a concern about creating extra work for, so much as the superintendent as staff in terms of every committee meeting.
But with
in
AI, they
addition-
can literally just transcribe everything. It's no work at all. It's like a
Well,
transcription.
Right, except the thing is that, that with the minutes from a meeting, then we have questions, right? Just like I would if I got minutes from a charter school meeting or so forth. So I'm just saying, like, the work that can be involved. That's what I think. I don't know what Mr. Escobedo thinks, or or the rest, the rest of you, Carlos, Bill and such.
I think that we've heard from our general counsel that having, now, here's my question. This is a superintendent-created committee. The Arts Committee was created without board member participation. And is that something that was in statute about this, or was it just that decision?
No, because there wasn't a statute, because it's just the board, the superintendent who created it. But I think and I'm not sure who on staff knows the most about it, but I think the thought was that it's the same kind of thing where it's more operational and less kind of at the board level,
Okay.
and that's why it's historically been that way.
So it was originally created before COVID, and it was designed to create a strategic arts plan. So that's why the committee was originally created. And then once we carried over after COVID, we continued to update the arts plan, as well as knowing the money was coming through, to communicate and work with our arts teachers. So that's the origin of it.
And we do have a website dedicated to the expenditures and the funding, Mr. Zucchelli. That is a live website that we can update every year that shows how much money each school is getting and what the money's going to, as a response to the concerns you mentioned earlier around this particular topic. So it has morphed into, first, this money's coming, what are we going to do with it? Then it was by school, creating their plans. Then it became, okay, so how is the money being spent, and so on. So it has morphed into that. I don't know that we necessarily need to convene it more than maybe even once a year, if anything. So again, these are committees that we set up for particular issues, and then they can be morphed into others, but they're not intended to be the similar kinds of setups as the Brown or Green Act meetings.
I have a suggestion at this point. If they're meeting annually, maybe the solution is to just make sure that there's a brief report after the committee meeting at the next board meeting.
I think that would make many people happy, not just me, just because they can read it, and I don't have to tell them. I'll just say, read this piece of paper.
All right, moving along, the external interagency bodies, the Santa Barbara County Committee on School District Organization is the committee that never meets. And actually, they have to meet once a year, but you're not on that committee. You are the district's representative, so the only time you have to meet is if there's something that affects Santa Barbara Unified. And so that's, yeah. Perfect, okay. The Santa Barbara County School Boards Association, currently Trustee Munoz is the member and I'm the alternative. I have spoken with her about swapping those roles. I would like to attend those meetings and have her as a backup. So let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Santa Barbara Ed Foundation representatives, it's Dr. Beal and I are on that. I'm not sure if it's a standard and alternate. I don't really know the difference. You've attended certain ones and have come when I said I can't. I've typically been to anyone that I can go to. Can we leave that the way it is? All right. And the South Coast Youth Safety Partnership Policy Committee, Gabe Escobedo, and I'm the alternative. Do they meet?
Yeah, they meet next month, I believe. I got an
Okay.
invite.
And you'll stick
Yeah.
on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have a roster to move forward and establish these. The other thing I would like to say that I think at an appropriate time, that it would be wise for the board to meet in a special session to have some instruction from our general counsel in terms of what are the differences in these committees, things about committee protocols. We've talked about that a little bit. I don't want to do overkill and have a committee on committees to decide what the committee should do. But
Well, I heard also the standardize of minutes, right? That is something that I don't think just the board needs, but I think we as a staff need. And I think that's something we need to develop so that when you do get minutes, we're looking at it. While I appreciate the suggestion that AI takes notes in our meetings, I will say that my particular accent doesn't always get picked up the way that I think it does, like when I do a voice text or even using Chat GPT. And so I don't know that the technology is there yet for us to use AI, but I do think that we need to create a coordinated way to capture minutes and have all of us who are running committees get trained on that way to do it so that you can expect minutes that really are meaningful and that capture the work while we do the work. Otherwise, we're spending time talking about the work we're doing while trying to take notes, and we'll just drive ourselves crazy. So that would be my recommendation.
So did I misunderstood the intent of the expectation about having some further training? You've explained to us the difference of these committees. You've asked some questions. I'm not asking for more work or more meetings, but so.
It's more like standardized practices
Okay.
that we all learn together.
Okay.
It's not just the board. I think the standardized practices about running committees, taking minutes, protocols to follow, whether it's with board members or not, is the work we're going for
Okay,
here.
but so there will be some sort of training around that. Okay, thank you. All right. Any further questions or comments? Then in that case, I'm going to, there are no public comments, right? And I'm going to ask for a motion.
I motion to approve the board committee assignments.
Is there a second?
I second.
And Board Member Vasquez, your advisory vote, please.
Aye.
Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Our next agenda item is approval of agreement with Artifacts IT to provide consulting services. And this is
Yes, I'm back.
Mr. Tedeschi.
So this is a really critical point for us with the Munis system. And so the Munis system contains a lot of our financial data, position data, expenditure data, and we implemented this system, 15 years ago? And the system has evolved. I don't know how well this district has evolved with the system. And so at this point, we've had some personnel changes in critical positions, and it's really important, I think, now to take a step back and really bring in someone who knows the system very well, who understands schools and what we do and how we do it, to really take a look at how is the system set up. Are we maximizing the efficiencies that are in the system? I think what has happened over time, the system has evolved, rolled out improved processes, programs, interfaces that we haven't necessarily picked up on and implemented ourselves. And so what we have tonight in front of us is a contract with a company that does consulting, that has experts. The consultant we talked to actually worked for Tyler Technologies, who created the Munis system, who knows all about it. And so the focus is to start on the HR side, just that's one component of it, from hiring an employee to the paycheck and all of the things that happen in between. Because when I talked about the priority budgeting, if your data's not good in the system, your reports don't come out accurate and aren't going to be useful. And so the real focus initially starts kind of in the HR area of position control, a critical piece, since 83% of our budget is in positions. And so it's stepping back, looking at how the system is set up. Do we need to make any changes to those setups? And then actually having this consultant work with staff to see how they're doing things and help them be more efficient in their processing of things like retro pays and all the different things that we go through. And so I think this is a critical time and contract for us to really get some support in that area. Like I said, we have some some changes of staff in critical areas that really need some support, a little training. And this consultant actually wrote some of the user guide for the Munis system in this area. So I think we had a pretty good meeting with them and got a good feeling about the work that they would do. And the nice thing about the contract as well, it's a not to exceed. And so it's based on hours. And based on the statement of work, most of the work would be done remotely. So we're not having to pay travel fees or anything like that. And so they would get into our system, look at how things are set up, spend time online with staff, go through processes, and it will have an impact on how we create our budget, on how we create projections for staffing and all of those, bringing all those pieces together. And so to me, it's a big next step for us to support our staff, to help them be more efficient, it's a great opportunity for us to really get better at how we do things. And like I said, it's a not to exceed. If we get a couple hours into it and we feel like this really isn't working, there's a provision, 30 days notice to get out of it and be done with it. So I don't think that would happen, but we would definitely stay on top of it and really make sure, meet with staff regularly to make sure that it would be working well. It would be the HR staff, my budget staff, some of the payroll staff, all kind of working together to make sure we get the most efficiencies out of the system as we can. John, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or? So with that, we can take questions or anything.
Are there public comments?
No.
Okay. Questions from the board members? Comments?
I appreciate that you're working to optimize Munis, so thank you for this work.
Sorry, I only chuckled because I'm like, let's go. No, I was like, let's a vote.
I really appreciate this. I know that Munis is not highly used in the area here, and having the support and connecting all of these kind of things, I really appreciate you taking the initiative on it.
And I really got to see how many things it can do that we may not be doing. And so this is a great opportunity for us to get better.
Bravo. Okay. Is there a motion? Dr. Caffrey, Ms. Caffrey.
Thank you. I motion to approve the final statement of work for Artifacts IT.
A second?
I second the
Okay.
motion.
The student advisory vote.
Aye.
Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. All right. That brings us to item H, acceptance of donations. I'd like to note that this month's donations include a generous contribution of $30,000 from the Foundation for Santa Barbara High School to be used for the Santa Barbara High School Library Fund. Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the donations.
A second?
I second the motion.
All right. Board Member Taft Vasquez.
Aye.
Board members, all in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
I'll note that Trustee Caffrey is not here. And that gets us to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be pulled? No comments? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
We need a second for the consent agenda?
Oh, I second. Oh, I'm sorry.
okay,
I said I
sorry.
second.
Okay. All right. Board Member Taft Vasquez.
Aye.
Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
The consent.
Okay, all right. Motion passes. We have only remaining items of future agenda and such. We are returning to closed session. I would advise that we take a brief break before convening in the other room. Are there any other items that we need to cover? All right, so we are adjourning to closed session at 9:12.